Good evening. Actually, this should be. Oh no. As soon as I do this, I have someone knocking on my door. I was debating, do I let him in? Do I let the cat in into the garden? Yesterday, I'm going to let him in. Let's see if he wants to stay. He does not. He does not wish to stay. It was all clever. It was all clever. As soon as I opened the gate, he just decided, no, no, I want you to feed me. He pranced away. Okay. Well, it's a bit early for his mealtime, but actually, I haven't poured my tea yet. Give me a second. Okay, let's try this. Will this sound interesting? Dangerous. Dangerous. Okay. Today is Sencha, actually. Just green tea. It's just green tea. It's actually very old green tea, so I don't know how good it is anymore. It's like, mm, it's over a decade old. It's one of those things where I probably should have gotten rid of it by now, but. And I keep meaning to like make a cake and put it in there, but it doesn't taste bad yet. You've never had green tea before? Hmm. Not even as a flavoring in something? I know it's a popular flavor. Although it's not like my preferred thing. As evidenced by having decade old green tea in my cupboard. In the tea storage. But then again, I have a lot. Well, it's a lot of green tea to work through. You have to understand. A lot of times when I'm making tea, I feel like I know I shouldn't, but I might go a little sparing on the using the tea. Uh, because I don't want to run out necessarily. Is it safe to drink? It was stored in a sealed container and it didn't look bad. It was very dry. But yeah, when it comes to a lot of it, I might like err on the side of a little less tea than expected for the amount of water. But for this, it was kind of instructions say a teaspoon per 8 ounces. Well, I'm making a pot of like 34 ounces, so that let's measure it out. And a little extra just in case it's a little weak. So it should be at the proper strength, even though the temperature might not be quite right. I think as long as it's usually, I want to say herbs and stuff when they're dried, they become stronger tasting, but after months, it does dissipate the strength of it. So I think as long as it's not visibly bad and smells as expected, stored in a cool, dry place, dark, probably, uh, then it won't be bad, just perhaps weak, which is why I added a little bit more than I should have. Listen, I made a big pot, so I've got 30, probably like 32 more ounces of tea to get through today. I really hate that with depending on the settings, it may or may not be able to capture some noises like pouring tea. So like trying to turn that off and turn it on. One day I won't have to resort to that. One day. One day. When I finish sound treating. But is it possible to drink that much tea? Yes. I would go through there were times I would go through like 64. Well, I guess 64 plus ounces of tea in a day. Making multiple pots. I mean, over the course of hours and hours and hours, but you know, it starts out piping hot, and if you don't have something to keep the teapot warm, it will cool down quite a bit by the end of it, like after an hour or two. But they also make like tea cozies too. So you could put something under it to keep the tea warm and also something over it. Uh, knitted tea cozies are a thing, but mine was shaped like a cat, actually. Until the cats go to it. It just needs to be patched up a little bit, though. I probably should stitch it back together a little bit, and then I can use it for here to keep the tea a bit warmer, a bit longer. It wouldn't really be an issue in the summer, like because you don't necessarily want the tea to be hot, but with the weather turning the way it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not so bad. I don't know like milliliters and stuffs very well. It's not something that I guess I guess I know what 2 liters looks like, but I don't know. I don't remember conversions. And 64, well, 64 ounces is that a gallon? Or is it 32 ounces to a gallon? Oh, it's a half gallon. 64 fluid ounces is a half gallon. So if I take two of these pots of tea, that's a half gallon of tea. 32 ounces is almost a liter. When you put it that way, it feels a lot bigger. Feels a lot bigger. I'm not very good at the like other kinds of measurements either, like weights and lengths and stuff like that. A part of that is also just not being in the habit of using it. Uh, just thinking about, mm, maybe this is not like terribly uncommon, but using like body parts pretty much to measure things. Like I know if I can imagine using my own height as an estimate for things in the room, for larger things, or using the first joint of a finger as a rough measurement for an inch, and using, I guess, thinking about it, I guess my forearm is bigger than a foot, but it's not a bad estimate. Let me check real quick. I have measuring tape. Measuring tape, the measuring tape. So yeah, like thumb joint as 1 inch. And okay, so actually, my arm is actually not quite my forearm is not quite 12 inches, like going from wrist to elbow. So, hmm yeah. Well, I mean, with the carpenter, Carpenter's ruler, I would say always just use the same ruler, right? Because different things will measure very slightly differently. Always make sure to use the same measuring tape. When I did carpentry, we did use body parts. I feel like that'd be way too rough. But more so for like general thoughts. Like I can't exactly remember how big my room, my garden is, but if I can imagine myself lying on the floor for it, it's a little different. And I know how tall I am. Something else I need to do. I reorganized a little bit in here because of some new equipment. But in the meantime, me this as well. I spent quite a lot of time last night looking for things to add to my wish list because I've been getting strongly worded messages that I should be adding things to it. And I figured maybe I would get some new books actually and some new games because now I have a capture card so I can play games. There's one game in particular I want to play, but I have to actually dig out the system for it first out of storage. So that might be a little bit before I can play it. But there's also like how to put it. That game Folklore, I would need a capture card because it was never available on any other system as far as I know. Like they never put it out again for PC, and it never made its way onto I guess like PlayStation Network or anything. So I have to use the capture card. And then there's other things like I have the Switch actually set up now. I was testing with the Switch, but it's kind of I don't really play a whole lot of Switch games necessarily. There's a few I haven't finished, but I don't know how interesting they would be to stream. And I'm thinking, well, I have my Wii, but again, I have to think about what kind of games are on there. But thinking about buying games and finding out how many of them, oh, well, you can buy this on a different system. Like you can buy this for the Windows or Windows. So there's no need to like repurchase it on PlayStation or whatever. And then realizing like, oh, well, I do have these that I haven't played, but I only have the game. I don't have the system anymore. Oh, I did put Pokemon Snap on there. And I have Pokemon Shield, but I haven't really played it very much. And a couple other Pokemon games that I haven't really played that much of. I feel really bad. Like I started and then it didn't catch on with me. And I have Splatoon 2, which I don't think I finished the basic one, but I never did the expansion, that sort of thing. And everyone's moved on to Splatoon 3, right? I guess I could put Splatoon 3 on my list. Thinking about, uh, for instance, Nier and like Drakengard and all that have been put on PC, right? I wonder if I have a PlayStation copy of Vagrant Story, but then again, it's one of those it's a JRPG. JRPGs are divisive. Hmm. Hmm. And I don't know, it may not really have nostalgia factor for people, Vagrant Story, because I don't know how many people got to play it. All I know is that uh, it's not super, wasn't super easy to find copies of it when I acquired mine, and I never actually got it to play, but I kept it too. It was kind of I could do that on stream. Is Vagrant Story available? Did it really age very well? I don't know. I feel really bad for like, yeah, I never played it. I never played it. Oh, it actually got re-released through the PlayStation Network for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, etc. So again, I could rebuy it uh for the network, I guess, for the PlayStation 3. But I already have a PlayStation copy. I just don't have a PlayStation to play it on. Like, how much does a PlayStation cost nowadays? There's a couple of retro game stores. Like, I could probably go buy a new PlayStation. It just feels a little awkward because I just got rid of it like 2 years ago. Thinking, like, I can play it on the PlayStation 3. No, I can't play it on my PlayStation 3. It's not that kind of PlayStation 3. Ah, technology. We'll play it. People rate it highly. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Maybe I will dig it out then. Maybe, maybe after Christmas. Maybe in January. Mm, but yeah, a little limited in what games. I guess what systems. Actually, oh, actually, I don't think that would work. Never mind. Just thinking, like, I do have some other. I might still have my Nintendo lying around, but I don't know. I'll have to look. It might be in storage. Or, like, rather, if I have it, it would be in storage. I don't know what sort of games I have for that. I mean, I know some of them, but then again, I also don't have the equipment for that either. No, like a original Nintendo. I used to have a Rob, but he was. Mm, I still, if I have the Nintendo, I have the Duck Hunt guns too. Two of them, I believe. Uh, I used to have a Rob, but the Rob was sold off because the person who sold him didn't realize what he was. Uh, and a number of other games too. Some of them I think I might still have the boxes too, but I'm not 100% certain. And like, they're old, they kind of smell a teeny bit. But no, I never actually had a 64. I had a Nintendo that I got secondhand from a family member. Uh, and I think I had a Super Nintendo too. And my friend had a PlayStation. Eventually, I got a PlayStation as well. Eventually. Eventually. But that was quite a ways down the line. But yeah, I skipped the 64. I knew someone else who had one. I was very delayed for getting a PlayStation 2. And now I have a PlayStation 3. Just, a generation or two behind. Just one or two behind. I was also fairly delayed in getting a Wii as well. So my first Wii was the red Wii that came out, which I think was like closer to the end of its lifespan than the beginning. But some of the games that they ported to the Switch, there are some. I don't know. I haven't really looked through the digital library for the Switch. What's in there? I did look through like I suppose like the Switch library in terms of what comes out on cartridges. And I had a bunch of like Wii cards uh for buying games, like the digital games, but I didn't necessarily use all of them before they went bad. Uh so what is actually, hold on. Let me grab out my Switch. It's just right here. Let's see. There's the cyber deals. It's the button. The eShop, right? I I have to say, I haven't played a whole lot of Mario games aside from like 1, 2, 3, and I think All Stars, which don't know if I have the Super Nintendo. Oh, no, no, wait. I have that on my Wii. I have that on my Wii. Like the All Stars, I think. But yeah, I've never played like any of the RPG style stuff for or for Mario. I never got to do that. That's right. I could get Crash Bandicoot. Although then again, I might actually still have Crash Bandicoot. I might have the original PS copy somewhere. Somewhere. I should have 3 lying around. I think it was 3. Let's see. I never really got to play Kirby games either. It's like a whole world of games I skipped. A whole lot of games that I've skipped. Maybe I'll have to put like eShop money on my wish list then. I think I'll do that. Yeah. Let's put the Switch back down. I played like 1.5 not Mario, Zelda games. I've gone most of the way through Breath of the Wild. Like I didn't do the last I didn't beat Ganondorf. I was too busy doing other things in the world, like trying to do all the shrines and stuff instead of going to beat Ganondorf. And I think I did the same thing with Ocarina of Time, where I just never finished. I never did the final boss. I don't think. I could be wrong. And I have that one for the Switch. No, not Switch. Nintendo DS, 3DS. And I think I have Ocarina of Time for that too, but I didn't want to do that until I finished. I mean, I wanted to do Majora's Mask, but I wanted to do it after I finished Ocarina of Time, and I didn't do that. Going through the stuff that I missed. Yeah, and I want to say a lot of times, like, I don't really care about spoilers for a lot of those because I've been way exposed to it. Like, it doesn't bother me. It's been out for like 10, 20 years. Man, just thinking, or something, I'm like, not quite 30 years, but like, yeah. I can't really complain if I'm the one who's been not playing the things should have been playing. Not especially. I mean, we were just talking about all these games that I skipped over. All these things that I skipped over. And I mean, it just comes in time, too. So for today, I was planning on reading Dungeon World, which is a RPG book. It's free. You can find this online. You can find all this information online. The first edition was free. There's a bunch of stuff that you can pay for, like extra classes and stuff, but the basic classes are all you need to get started. And we've already made it through about 177 pages of content in a 410-page book. So we're almost halfway there. Hopefully by the end of today, we'll get halfway there. And so I want to say for the next huge chunk, it's going to be more so information for the GM more than for players. Like there's a lot of world building info and stuff. Most players will probably just want to read about the character classes, which is also the information on the races, which also kind of tells you all you need to know about equipment as well. Like there's not a huge amount of equipment, I think, otherwise. But I think the rest of this is like the GM rather, Game Master. So let's see. Me grab the book. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. Play one more. So, oh, it's also another thing. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. Go away. Oh no. Technology. Technology is going awry. I had to buy a new cable for something for audio purposes and to get music into the garden, and um I'm experiencing maybe not technical difficulties, but like additional technical things I wasn't expecting based on that. So let's see. And now I can also hear someone else crying. Someone else is crying. Yeah, stuff is tricky. Yes, I also found out that for the uh, capture card, I didn't realize that for the Switch it would be audio delay for me while I play because of how the audio is set up. So you can either buy an extra thing in order to have the audio hearing it non-delayed as a streamer, or either you hear the audio as a streamer and the chat can't, or chat can you hear it the same as chat, which is going to be delayed. So it's kind of this is going to be this is going to be strange whenever that does come around. I'm hoping the process won't be quite the same for the PlayStation 3. Like, I hope that won't be delayed as well. I think that would be much more detrimental. I'm just thinking there are some games where, like, audio is very important. Audio is extremely important. Delay the mic sound too. My mic is already a bit delayed though, I think. I had to do that. I think. Let's see. Mm-hmm. I think I wanted to make sure all that stuff was on point when I was singing. When I was singing, I didn't want anything to be out of sync, so I like really tried very carefully to get it dialed in during that period. Now it shouldn't be too bad. It shouldn't be too bad. Although I'm hoping by the end of the year I'll be able to debut my live 2D model, and then I'm gonna have to go through that entire process all over again of like trying to get everything synced up and proper. I'm hoping it won't be too difficult, but I'll just have to take the time. I'll just have to take the time. So, first session of Dungeon World, getting started. When everyone shows up for the first session, briefly introduce Dungeon World to anyone who hasn't played before. Oh, wait. Nope, I skipped a page. Oh, I lied. We're starting at page 177. I skipped a page. Okay. First session. The first session of a game of Dungeon World begins with character creation. Character creation is also world creation. The details on the character sheets and the questions that you ask establish what Dungeon World is like, who lives in it, and what's going on. This section is for the GM, so it's addressed to you, the GM. For the players, the first session is just like every other. They just have to play their characters like real people and explore Dungeon World. You have to do a little more in the first session. You establish the world and the threats the players will face. Prep. Before the first session, you'll need to print some stuff. Print off a few copies of the basic moves, one copy of each class sheet, double-sided, one copy each of the cleric and wizard spell sheets, double-sided, the GM sheet. You'll also need to read this whole book, especially the sections on GMing, GM moves, and the basic moves. It's a good idea to be acquainted with the class moves too, so you can be prepared for them. Be especially sure to read the rules for fronts, but don't create any yet. I have no idea what a front is, but I do see it's an upcoming section in the book. I feel like fronts are... Maybe we didn't use that term. Maybe we used a different term when I played. Think about Fantastic Worlds, Strange Magic, and Foul Beasts. Remember the games you played and the stories you told. Watch some movies, read some comics. Get heroic fantasy into your brain. What you bring to the first session, ideas-wise, is up to you. At the very least, bring your head full of ideas. That's the bare minimum. If you like, you can plan a little more. Maybe think of an evil plot and who's behind it, or some monsters you'd like to use. If you've got some spare time on your hands, you can even draw some maps. But remember, from your principles, leave blanks, and imagine specific locations. The one thing you absolutely can't bring to the table is a planned storyline or plot. You don't know the heroes or the world before you sit down to play, so planning anything concrete is just going to frustrate you. It also conflicts with your agenda. Play to find out what happens. Getting started. When everyone shows up for the first session, briefly introduce Dungeon World to anyone who hasn't played before. Cover the mechanical basis of moves. Introduce the character classes. Help players pick their classes, and walk them through character creation. Your role during character creation is threefold. Help everyone, ask questions, and take notes. When a player makes a choice, particularly for their bonds, ask them about it. Get more detail. Think about what those details mean. Hello, Saguar. Welcome. Reading about GM stuff for Dungeon World. You are a GM, right? Right? You should also set expectations. The players are to play their characters as people, skilled adventurers delving into dangerous places, but real people. Your role is to play the rest of the world as a dynamic, changing place. Some questions commonly come up during character creation. You should be ready to answer them. Are the characters friends? No, not necessarily, but they do work together as a team for common goals. Their reasons for pursuing these goals might be different, but they manage to work together. Are there other wizards? Not really. There are other workers of arcane magic, and the common folk may call them wizards, but they're not like you. They don't have the same abilities, though they may be similar. Later on, there may be another player character with the same class, but no GM character will ever really be a wizard, or any other class. What's coin? Coin is the currency of the realm. It's good pretty much everywhere. It'll buy you mundane stuff, like steel swords and wooden staves. The special stuff, like magic weapons, isn't for sale. Not for coin, anyway. Is the GM trying to kill us? No. The GM's job is to portray the world and the things in it, and the world is a very dangerous place. You might die. That doesn't mean the GM is out to get you. During this entire process, especially character creation, ask questions. Look for interesting facts established by the character's bonds, moves, classes, and descriptions, and ask about those things. Be curious. When someone mentions the demons that slaughtered their village, find out more about them. After all, you don't have anything except maybe a dungeon, and everything they give you is fuel for future adventures. Also, pay attention to the player's questions. When mechanical questions come up, answer them. When questions of setting or fiction come up to the best sorry. When questions of setting or fiction come up, your best bet is to turn those questions around. When a player says, "Who is the king of Torsia?" say, "I don't know. Who is it? What is he like?" Collaborate with your players. Asking a question means it's something that interests them, so work with them to make the answers interesting. Don't be afraid to say, "I don't know," and ask them the same questions. Work together to find a fantastic and interesting answer. If you've come to the table with some ideas about stuff you'd like to see in the world, share them with your players. Their characters are their responsibility, and the world is yours. You've got a lot of say in what lives in it. If you want the game to be about a hunt for the lost sorcerer race of aeons past, say so. If the players aren't interested or they're sick to death of sorcerers, they'll let you know, and you can work together to find some other way. You don't need pre-approval for everything, but making sure everyone is excited about the broad strokes of the world is a great start. Once everyone has their characters created, you can take a deep breath. Look back over the questions you've asked and the answers so far. You should have some notes that will point you towards what the game might look like. Look at what the players have brought to the table. Look to the ideas that they've been stewing away in your head. It's time for the adventure to begin. The first adventure. The first adventure is really about discovering the direction that future sessions will take. Throughout the first adventure, keep your eye out for unresolved threats. Note dangerous things that are mentioned but not dealt with. These will be fuel for sessions to come. Start the session with a group of player characters, maybe all of them, in a terse situation. Tense situation, not terse. Okay, you cannot hear him. There is someone crying in the back. He wants to be let through the gate. Shall I do with him? Take a bit of tea. It's already going a little cold. Oh, okay, never mind. My cup is cold, but the pot is hot. I have a teapot full of tea. Green tea. Use anything that demands action outside the entrance of a dungeon, ambushed in a fetid swamp, peeking through the crack in a door at the Orc Guards, or being sentenced before King Levis. Ask the question right away. Who is leading the ambush against you? Or, what did you do to make King Levis so mad? If the situation stems directly from the characters in your questions, all the better. Here is where the game starts. The players will start saying and doing things, which means they'll start making moves. For the first session, you should watch especially carefully for when moves apply, until the players get the hang of it. Often, in the early sessions, the players will be most comfortable just narrating their actions. This is fine. When a move triggers, let them know. Say, "It sounds like you're trying to," and then walk them through the move. Players looking for direction will look to their character sheet. When a player just says, "I hack and slash him," be quick to ask, "So what are you really doing?" Ask, "How?" or "With what?" For the first session, you have a few specific goals. Establish details. Describe. Use what they give you. Ask questions. Leave blanks. Look for interesting facts. Help the players understand the moves. Give each character a chance to shine. Introduce NPCs. And we're going to go through each one of those bits in a bit more detail. as is Dungeon World tradition at this point. As is Dungeon World tradition. Establish details. Describe. All the ideas and visions in your head don't really exist in the fiction of the game until you share them, describe them, and detail them. The first session is the time to establish the basics of what these things look like, who's in charge, what they wear, what the world is like, what the immediate location is like. Describe everything but keep it brief enough to expand on later. Use a detail or two to make a description really stand out as real. Use what they give you. The best part of the first session is you don't have to come up with anything concrete. You might have a dungeon sketched out, but the players provide the real meat. Use it. They'll emerge from the darkness of that first dungeon, and when they do and their eyes adjust to the light, you'll have built up an exciting world to explore with their help. Look at their bonds, their moves, how they answer your questions, and use what you find to fill in the world around the characters. Ask questions. You're using what they give you, right? What if you need more? That's when you draw it out by asking questions. Poke and prod about specific things. Ask for reactions. What does Lux think about that? Is Avon doing something about that? If you ever find yourself at a loss, pause for a second and ask a question. Ask one character a question about another. When a character does something, ask how a different character feels or reacts. Questions will power your game and make it feel real and exciting. Use the answers you find to fill in what might happen next. Leave blank. Or leave blanks. Leave blanks. This is one of your principles, but it's especially true during the first session. Every blank is another cool thing waiting to happen. Leave yourself a stack of them. Look for interesting facts. There are some ideas that, when you hear them, just jump out at you. When you hear one of those ideas, just write it down. When a player mentions the Duke of Sorrows being the demon he bargained with, note it. That little fact is the seed for a whole world. Help the players understand the moves. You've already read the game. The players may not have, so it's up to you to help them if they need it. The fact is, they likely won't need it much. All they have to do is describe what their character does. The rules take care of the rest. The one place they may need help, or some help, is remembering the triggers for the moves. Keep an ear out for actions that trigger moves, like attacking in melee or consulting their knowledge. After a few moves, the players will likely remember them on their own. Give each other or give each character a chance to shine. As a fan of the heroes, remember your agenda. You want to see them do what they do best. Give them a chance at this, not by tailoring every room to their skills, but by portraying a fantastic world, agenda again, where there are many solutions to every challenge. Introduce NPCs. NPCs bring world to life. If every monster does nothing more than attack and every blacksmith sets out their wares for simple payment, the world is dead. Instead, give your characters, especially those the players show an interest in, life. Principles, remember? Introduce NPCs, but don't protect them. The recently deceased Lord of Goblins is just as useful for future adventures as the one who's still alive. After the first session. Once you're done with the first session, take some time to relax. Let ideas ferment. Don't rush into the next session. Once you've had some time to relax and think over the first session, it's time to prepare for the next session. Preparing for the second session takes a few minutes, maybe an hour if this is your first time. You'll create fronts, maybe make some monsters or custom moves, and generally get an idea of what's going on in the world. Now we get the section to fronts. Let me update something and take a quick break. I'm not going to leave. I just need to edit text here because we have finished the first session section and now we're on to fronts. Oh. Maybe you can hear him when I talk. He's in the background. Actually, you probably won't be able to hear this again. If I'm pouring the tea like right by it, it'll probably be just considered noise and removed. Which is really a shame, but what can you do? Also, just generally very quiet. One day. See how hot the tea is this time. Okay. It's a decent temperature at this stage, but yeah. Green tea. Sencha. It's not like it tastes like lawn clippings. It is bitter, but not like horrifically so. And kind of grassy, but again, it's not like lawn clippings. Okay. Section. Fronts. Fronts are secret tomes of GM knowledge. Each is a collection of linked dangers, threats to the characters specifically, and to the people, places, and things the characters care about. It also includes one or more impending dooms, the horrible things that will happen without the character's intervention. Fronts comes, of course, from fighting on two fronts, which is just where you want the characters to be, surrounded by threats, danger, and adventures. Fronts are built outside of active play. They're the solo fun that you get to have between games, rubbing your hands and cackling evilly to yourself as you craft the foes with which to challenge your PCs. You may tweak or adjust your fronts during play. Who knows when inspiration will strike, but the meat of them comes from preparation between sessions. Fronts are designed to help you organize your thoughts on what opposes the players. They are here to contain your notes, ideas, and plans for these opposing forces. When you're in a bind, your fronts are where you're going to turn and say, "Oh, so that's what I should do." Consider them an organizational tool, an inspiration for present and future mayhem. When you're building fronts, think about all the creepy dungeon denizens, the rampaging hordes, and ancient cults that you'd like to see in your game. Think in broad strokes at first, and then, as you build danger into your fronts, you'll be able to narrow those ideas down. When you write your campaign front, think about session to session trends. When you write your adventure fronts, think about what's important right here and right now. When you're done writing a few fronts, you'll be equipped with all the tools you'll need to challenge your players and ready to run Dungeon World. When to make fronts. You'll make your campaign fronts and first adventure fronts after your first session. Your campaign front may not be complete when you first make it. That's great. Just like blanks on a map, unknown parts of your campaign front are opportunities for future creativity. After that first session, you'll also make some adventure fronts. 1 or 2 is usually a good number. If you find yourself with more adventure fronts, consider leaving some possible fronts as just notes for now. Campaign and adventure fronts. At their core, all fronts contain the same components. They sort and gather your dangers into easy to use clusters. There are, however, 2 different kinds of fronts available to you. On the session to session level, there are your adventure fronts. These fronts will see use for a few sessions each. You're tied to one problem and will be dealt with or cast aside as the characters wander the dungeon or uncover the plot at hand. Think of them as episodic content. Today on Dungeon World. Sorry, it should have been more like Today on Dungeon World. Tying your adventure fronts together is your campaign front. While the adventure fronts will contain immediate dangers, the orcs in Hargrosh Pass, say, the campaign front contains the dark god Grishkar, who drives the orcs to their pillaging. The campaign front is the unifying element that spans all the sessions of your Dungeon World game. It will have slower burning portents, but they'll be bigger in scope and have deeper impact on the world. Most importantly, they'll be scarier if they're allowed to resolve. When a danger from an adventure front goes without resolution, you'll have to make a decision. If the danger is something you like and feel has a place in a larger world of your game, don't hesitate to move it to the campaign front. You're able to make smaller dangers that went unresolved into bigger dangers someday later on. You can move dangers from the campaign front to an adventure front if they've come to bear too. I'm going to take another quick thing to try and invite this awfully loud meower. Okay, I hope this is going to work. He is up here. Now let's see if I can get him to cuddle. Be a good cuddler. No, be a good cuddler. There might be noises he might up against the mic. He might also end up getting eaten by the noise. You might get eaten by the noise gate. Okay, I love you too. I love you too. Come on, be a good boy. Yeah, okay. Come on, settle. Not there. Please no. Normally he likes to lie on the table, like parallel to the keyboard, but right now he's like curled up and he wants to use the keyboard as a pillow, which is a problem. Come on, be good. Oh. No, that's not your tea. Please don't. Come on, you can do this. You can settle. You can be good. There we go. Okay, just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, I got him in a good position. I can posture check sort of. Uh, I'm sitting up. Yeah, he's very cheeky. He's very friendly. I love him. He's parallel to the keyboard now, and he's got his head and his like upper body kind of on my arm, using it as a pillow on one side, and then I have one hand free to, keep the book open or tea, and I can rub his belly with my hands. and now he's gone. It didn't work. He's got an hour, about an hour until food, so he's just being annoying for that. Can't give in. Oh, oh, no, no, please. What are you doing? He's a very spoiled cat. No, he didn't get what he like. Does he need pets? Of course. I want to say, like, everything needs touch. But when he wants his food, and he's not getting food early. And also, like, he could have when I got up, he was not cuddling with me. It was just sort of like a normally when I wake up, he's right there next to me, but today he wasn't. Maybe he was just mad at something. He's just going to sit by the door and occasionally cry, I guess, till dinner. Okay. We went through campaign and adventure fronts and those definitions. And also I've had having more tea. You for the water. The tea. So we talked about adventure fronts and campaign fronts. How do we create fronts? Creating fronts. Here's how a front comes together. Choose campaign front or adventure front. Create 2 to 3 dangers. Choose an impending doom for each danger. Add grimportance. 1 to 3 for an adventure front, 3 to 5 for a campaign front. Write 1 to 3 stakes questions. List the general cast of the front. Creating dangers. Not every element of your game will warrant a danger. Traps, some roving monsters, and other bits of ephemera may just be there to add context but aren't important enough to warrant inclusion. That's okay. Fronts are here to keep you apprised of the bigger picture. Dangers are divided into a handful of categories, each with its own name and impulse. Every danger has a crucial motivation that it drives it, called its impulse. The impulse exists to help you understand that danger. What pushes it to fulfill its impending doom? Impulses can help you translate the danger into action. Okay, sometimes the mic is catching him, but I guess I have him on different mic settings because I can see when it catches him from my mouth, but it doesn't catch him for actual audio purposes. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's happening. Oh my boy. Okay. When creating dangers for your front, think about how each one interacts as a facet of the front as a whole. Keep in mind the people, places, and things that might be a part of the threat to the world that the front represents. How does each danger contribute to the front? Let's say we have an idea for a front. An ancient portal has been discovered in the icy north. We'll call our front the opening of the White Gate. Feel bad because all I can think of is initially it's like the opening of the White Castle. Ah, yeah. Every time you saw my mouth move there, that was him. That was him crying. Hey, no, again, fine. it's been a few weeks since where I lived did the time switch, and I guess they're still not quite caught up to it because this is happening so much. The begging, the incessant early begging. We had information on the White Gate. The opening of the White Gate. The easiest place to start with is people and monsters. Cultists, ogre chieftains, demonic overlords, and the like are all excellent dangers. These are the creatures that have risen above mere monster status to become serious threats on their own. Uh, Groups of monsters can be dangers too. Goblin tribes or a rampaging centaur khanate, for example. For the front we're creating, we can pick a few different groups or people who might be interested in the gate. The College of Arcanists, perhaps. There's a golem, too, we've decided, that protects the Forgotten Portal. The golem is just an obstacle, so we won't make him a danger. Thinking more broadly, less obvious elements of the world can be dangers. Blasted hellscapes, or landscapes, not hellscapes. Like, hellscapes can be hellscapes are landscapes, but not all landscapes are hellscapes. Blasted landscapes, intelligent magical items, ancient spells woven into the fabric of time. These things fulfill the same purposes as a mad necromancer. They're part of the front, a danger to the world. For our front, we'll add the gate itself as a danger. Thinking more broadly, less obvious elements of the world can be dangers. Oh, no. Lastly, if we think ahead, we can include some overarching dangers. The sort of things that are in play outside the realm of the obvious. Godly patrons, hidden conspiracies, and cursed prophecies waiting to be fulfilled. Perhaps the White Gate was carved in the ancient past, hidden by a race of angels until the day of judgment. We'll add the Argent Seraphim to our front as a new danger. There's always more dangers you could add to a front, but limit yourself to 3 at most and leave room for discovery. Like a map, blank spaces can always be filled in later. Leaving room for player contribution and future inspiration means you'll have freedom to alter the front and make it fit the game. Not every bad thing that could happen deserves to be made into a danger. If you're uncertain, think about it this way. Dangers can always get worse. A barbarian tribe near the gate, frozen tundra itself, a band of rival adventurers. All these things could be dangerous elements of the game, but they're not important enough yet to deserve to be dangers. Creating dangers is a way to slice up your overall front concept into smaller, easier to manage pieces. Dangers are tools for adding in details to the right parts of the front, and for making the front easier to manage in the long run. Once you've named and added a danger to the front, you need to choose a type for that danger from the list below. Alternately, you can use the list of types to inspire dangers. With your front in mind, peruse the list and pick 1 or 2 that fit. For our 3 dangers, the College of Arcanists, the White Gate, and the Argent Seraphim, we've selected Cabal, Dark Portal, and Choir of Angels, respectively. Okay. Types of dangers. Ambitious organizations, planner forces, arcane enemies, hordes, cursed places. Ambitious organization examples could be misguided good, impulse to do what is right no matter the cost. Thieves' Guild, impulse to take by subterfuge. Cult, impulse to invest from within. Religious organization, impulse to establish and follow doctrine. Corrupt government, impulse to maintain the status quo. Cabal, impulse to absorb those in power, to grow. GM moves for ambitious organizations. Attack someone by stealthy means, kidnapping, etc. Attack someone directly, with a gang or a single assailant. Absorb or buy out someone important, an ally perhaps. Influence a powerful institution, change a law, manipulate doctrine. Establish a new rule within the organization. Claim territory or resources. Negotiate a deal. Observe a potential foe in great detail. Planner forces. God, impulse to gather worshippers. Demon prince, impulse to open the gates of hell. Elemental lord, impulse to tear down creation to its component parts. Force of chaos, impulse to destroy all semblance of order. Choir of angels, impulse to pass judgment. Construct of law, impulse to eliminate perceived disorder. There's a sidebar for planner forces. Don't know this song. Something else. Just this real quick. No, what's it? Okay, it should be fine. Okay. Well, tides are a-turning once more. 6 dark-winged devils line up at my door. Each one is more evil than that which came before. Titus Andronicus, 77. I don't know what 77 is. Let me check. I do see another sidebar, and I know this one. But not 7. What is 4? Is it a song? I understand that it's generally, when you talk about that, it's the Gettysburg Address. But this is, okay, a song by that person. But who is Titus Andronicus? Titus Andronicus. Wait, what? What? Oh, okay. So Titus Andronicus is actually a William Shakespeare tragedy. So it's supposed to be probably his first tragedy. And it's about a general in the Roman army. So it's kind of a case of, is there someone who decided to take up that name as a singer? Or, no, it's a rock band? It's a rock band as well. So the question is the song, or these words, is it from the play? Or is it from I guess it's from the bands. Yeah, I guess it's from the band. And they are a indie rock band. Okay. Lesson learned. No wonder I don't know them. They're from some little known place called New Jersey. Named after. I've never heard of Titus Andronicus the play either, but I've not looked into like all the different things that Shakespeare's written. Okay. GM moves for planner forces. Turn an organization, corrupt or infiltrate with influence. Give dreams of prophecy. Lay a curse on a foe. Extract a promise in exchange for a boon. Attack indirectly through intermediaries. Rarely, when the stars are right, attack directly. Foster rivalries with other similar powers. Expose someone to a truth, wanted or otherwise. Arcane enemies. Lord of the undead, impulse to seek true immortality. The power mad wizard, impulse to seek magical powers. Sentient artifact, impulse to find a worthy wielder. Ancient curse, impulse to ensnare. Chosen one, impulse to fulfill or resent their destiny. Dragon, impulse to hoard gold and jewels to protect the clutch. And the sidebar for this. Sub-creatures. Gozer the Gozerian, Gozer the Destructor, Volga Sidohar the Traveler has come. Choose and perish. Gozer, Ghostbusters. I don't know if I can do a proper Gozer voice. It has been a few years since I've seen Ghostbusters, but it's one of those few movies that I have seen. I feel like there's a lot of pop culture that I've missed, and I think I was late on the Ghostbusters train. Pretty late. GM moves for arcane enemies. Learn forbidden knowledge. Cast a spell over time and space. Attack a foe with magic, directly or otherwise. Spy on someone with a scrying spell. Recruit a follower or toady. Tempt someone with promises. Demand a sacrifice. You've only seen bits and pieces of the movie? I want to say they're the ones I've only seen, I think 1 and 2, and they're both very good. Of course, I think people would know 1 more. It's, I want to say, like, not completely out of season in terms of feeling. Like, we're not quite in the Christmas spirit yet. I think we can still do a bit of like spookiness, and like it's not like super spooky. Like maybe when I first watched I may have shrieked, but like afterwards I don't think there's anything that would get me to shriek. So like it's not scary. It's comedy. There are some things that are a little annoying about it, but that's just, I think, time. Time changes perceptions of things. Since it was an 80s movie. And I think that there were some games. I don't know if they're any good though. Or rather, I think there may be some video games. There's a board game that's actually kind of fun. I have the board game for 1 and 2, but I've only played 1. It's a co-op where you have to work together to capture ghosts and shut down portals. It's not exactly a campaign game, exactly, but there are different scenarios that you can run through that basically form a campaign. When I say campaign game, I mean, I want to say you aren't, it's not a legacy style thing where you're like tearing up pieces and stuff, which is good. Legacy games are interesting, but it feels really bad to like destroy parts of your board game as you're going through. But yeah, there's probably a tabletop simulator thing for Ghostbusters. Uh, Not quite as cool as playing it like in real life because the figures are also pretty neat. Uh, mm, mm. Ghostbusters was kind of fun. You also, oh, the nice fun thing about the Ghostbusters board game is everyone plays a different Ghostbuster and you have different abilities, and there are some that chain up really well. So it's just kind of a, if you got a team going, you can become a very efficient machine at what you're doing. And I think that you actually have a cast of like, mm, I think there's like 9 or 10 people to choose from because they also, it's not just from the main crew from the movies, but they also have, I believe, the crew from the comic books. So before there was the female Ghostbusters movie, uh, there's a female Ghostbusters comic, I think, and that's what they're based off of. Uh, Let me check. Let me check. Uh, hmm. This feels like a weird thing to have to check up, but I was a little surprised when I first saw the like extra the characters I didn't recognize, the ones that weren't from the movies. But I was informed by other people that like no, these are actually the characters that people would recognize if they're like fans of the franchise. Mm, it's a fun board game. It's surprising how companies and stuff go all in on tabletop. I want to say, um, I don't want to say like sometimes it's a bit of a fad. I think there was a bit of a fad. I think that COVID really killed it a bit because of not being able to meet in person, which was a shame. That's certainly what killed my group. But there's a lot of, I want to say, like, there's a bit of a split between a board game that was released and then is re released with a template of a franchise over it. For instance, there's Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a, I don't even know, I don't have a local game store necessarily for board games. Uh, we would just buy either in person at events, um, like conventions, or we'd do Kickstarters. Our group had a Kickstarter addiction. A lot of Kickstarters. Uh, or just ordering straight from the site. You know, for those bonuses. I certainly don't have almost all the like bonuses for Tanto Cuore sitting in the giant box in the library. Not at all. Not almost all the shiny cards and a couple of play mats that I can never bring out. But so yeah, there's the ones that are like slapping the franchise theme over an existing game. Like they'll have a few bits and bobs uh, to implement like new concepts in there to like make it usually match the franchise a little better. For instance, it's Scooby Doo. Like there's a Scooby Doo Betrayal at House on the Hill. It also I think makes it a bit more child friendly that way. The child friendly version of Betrayal at House on the Hill. Um, and then there are games that like are kind of from the ground up new. I don't think Ghostbusters is an implementation of anything else, or rather, a re-implementation of anything else, which is kind of neat. It may not like be the most innovating thing, but it's not literally carrying something else's name in it, like Betrayal Scooby Doo. Let's see. So, we covered arcane enemies. We did not cover hordes. The danger called a horde. Hordes could be wandering barbarians with the impulse to grow strong to drive their enemies before them. Humanoid vermin, impulse to breed, to multiply and consume. Underground dwellers, impulse to defend the complex from outsiders. Or plague of the undead, impulse to spread. GM moves for hordes. Assault a bastion of civilization. Embrace internal chaos. Change direction suddenly. Overwhelm a weaker force. Perform a show of dominance. Abandon an old home. Find a new one. Grow in size by breeding or conquest. Appoint a champion. Declare war and act upon that declaration without hesitation or deliberation. Cursed places is the next danger. Abandoned tower, impulse to draw in the weak-willed. Unholy ground, impulse to spawn evil. Elemental vortex, impulse to grow to tear apart reality. Dark portal, impulse to disgorge demons. Shadowlands, impulse to corrupt or consume the living. Place of power, impulse to be controlled or tamed. GM moves for cursed places. Vomit forth a lesser monster. Spread to an adjacent place. Lure someone in. Grow in intensity or depth. Leave a lingering effect on an inhabitant or visitor. Hide something from sight. Offer power. Dampen magic or increase its effects. Confuse or obfuscate truth or direction. Corrupt a natural law. Description and cast. Write up something short to remind you just what this danger is about, something to describe it in a nutshell. Don't worry about where it's going or what can happen. Grim Portents and the impending doom will handle that for you. You'll get to those in a bit. If there are multiple people involved in the danger, an orc warlord and his clansmen, a hateful god and his servants, go ahead and give them names and a detail or two now. Leave yourself some space as you'll be adding to this section as you play. Custom moves. Sometimes a danger will suggest a move that isn't covered by any existing ones. You can write custom moves to fill the gaps or to add the right effects for the danger. They can be player moves or GM moves as you see fit. Of course, if you're writing a player move, keep your hands off the dice and mind the basic structure of a move. A 10+ is a complete success, while a 7 through 9 is a partial success. On a miss, maybe the custom move does something specific, or maybe not. Maybe you just get to make a move or work towards fulfilling a grim portent. The formatting of these moves varies from move to move. Advanced Delving chapter on page 345 has more on making your own moves. For the opening of the White Gate, I just know some fool PC is going to end up in the light that spills from the gate, so I'm writing a move to show what might occur. When you stand in the presence of the light from beyond, roll plus whiz. On a 10+, you are judged worthy, and the Argent Seraphim will grant you a vision or a boon. On a 7 through 9, you are under suspicion and see a vision of what dark fate might befall you if you do not correct your ways. On a miss, thou art weighed in the balance and art found wanting. Let's see. Grim portents. Grim portents are dark designs for what can happen if a danger goes unchecked. Think about what would happen if the danger existed in the world, but the PCs didn't. If all these awful things you've conjured up had their run in the world. Scary, huh? The grim portents are your way to codify the plans and machinations of your dangers. A grim portent can be a single interesting event or a chain of steps. When you're not sure what to do next, push your danger towards resolving a grim portent. The unknown future rolls towards us. Sarah Connor, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I've also never seen any Terminator movies. Ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. I feel like that's a big one I've been missing out on. I think the most I may have seen has been like if there are any amusement parks that have like snippets from Terminator, which I kind of doubt for some reason. Like, is it a Universal property? Because I may have seen something there for it and like a few clips, but uh, otherwise, I don't really know a whole lot about Terminator. That and there's another one that has for some reason it rings a similar bell to me. I don't remember what the name is. Total Recall, maybe? Total Recall. Like mentally I have a similar image for them, except Terminator to Terminator in general, like is like the bigger franchise, I guess. But I don't know anything really about them except Arnold Schwarzenegger and robots rule the world. Or no, not rule the world, but like they're trying to take over the world. And unstoppable robot Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know. I'm behind. I'm way behind. I skipped a few generations of pop culture. I also don't know if there's any board games based on that. I wonder if there are. Like, did they ever make a Terminator board game? Let me check. This is a personal curiosity. Is there a Terminator board game? Terminator board game. Yes, there is. Terminator Genesis Rise of the Resistance. Co op tactical board game for 1 to 4 players. Let's see. What kind of game is it? Oh, thank you for the follow, Charla. And I forgot to turn off my notification sounds. Like, I still want the notifications, just not the sounds. Terminator Monopoly? Yeah, but I mean, anything can be Monopoly. This is a miniature co op. Okay, for some reason I thought it might be a hidden trader kind of game like Battlestar Galactica. Might be, or is, rather. So, Terminator Genesis Rise of the Resistance is a cooperative tactical board game for 1 to 4 players where you play as the leaders of the Resistance, liberating humankind from the clutches of the machines. Use the mission guide to select your scenario or play through in campaign mode. Build the modular map and select your favorite Resistance hero before engaging the Terminators in a battle for survival. Roll dice and allocate them to abilities, weapons, movement, and more. Keep pressing on toward the next waypoint, but don't get overrun by the machines. How old is this? When was it released? Oh. I see Kickstarter on there. And there are solitaire rules. So, 2018. Oof. I wonder. Just like if it was a case of like it came out at the end of December or like ends of 2018 and then just kind of gotten eaten by COVID. There's also the Terminator official board game too. Let me check. This one is 2 to 5 players. Area movement co-op again. Asymmetrical strategy game played across 2 boards, one in 1984 and one in 2029. One player takes control of all the forces of the machines: Hunter Killer flying machines, Terminator endoskeletons, and new robots based on the classic 1980s aesthetic, while the rest of the players take the role of the human resistance, struggling against the impossible odds of the machine uprising. And let's see, when did this come out? When did this come out? Come on, come on. Got 5 expansions. What? 5? Let's see. Did it come out? 2017. Okay. I wonder, uh, it's a little funny sometimes to see, like, there are multiple board games that come out around the same franchise around the same time, because the license got opened up and, like, people are able to pick it up. Because the same thing kind of happened to Bebop, where there are 2 different companies who picked up the license because it's an open. It's not like they closed the license, I should say. Like, it's a like, you pay and I guess you get the license to develop a board game, but anyone else can too. So, like, Bebop has 2 games, and I guess Terminator has 2 games at the same time, which is like a year or 2 in between them. But the other one seems a bit more. The first one seems like a work against the board type thing, and the second one seems a bit more like there's there's a game that I'm thinking of, like, more traditional, like one person is the game master and everyone else is working together as like a player party group. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. Dark Descent? Descent into Darkness, is that it? Descent into Darkness. Oh, that's probably not it. What is it called? What is it called? I know I've played. I know I've played a version of it, like the Star Wars version of it, because it was actually quite difficult. I say it was difficult. Maybe it was because we were not quite aligned properly on it. Like, we weren't in the right mindset. Uh, and our DM was a very tactical person, so it did not help us. That hurt us. Uh, let's see. I feel like, how many Star Wars games can there be? How many Star Wars board games? Uh, okay. Yeah, Imperial Assault is what we played. So, Descent, I think, is what the Descent, Journeys in the Dark, and it's considered a dungeon crawler. Okay. It's been a very long time. We never actually finished our Star Wars Imperial Assault campaign. I think we had like one more session, one more scenario left. And I think that we, like, failed all of them except for like 2 scenarios. 1 or 2 main scenarios. We passed a few of the side scenarios just like by the skin of our teeth. Again, we were probably not focused on the right things when we were playing. Like, killing the bad things is not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is whatever the card tells you to do. You need that object. Every you, just get the object. Ignore everything else if you can. Ignore as much as possible. What? Yeah, there's a lot of really cool minis out there, and for Star Wars especially, you could buy extra minis for things. Well, rather, You're playing Star Wars Imperial Assault, but there's no Boba Fett in the game, in the base game. Or Han Solo, let's say. I don't know if he was in the base game or not, or if that was something that someone brought in. But they sell an expansion that's just like a little Boba Fett in a box with a card to go along with it so you can go into the deck of stuff for the side scenarios that you may or may not pull out. So, like, and of course, nothing is painted. I have a lot of unpainted figures that I should get to. I need to set up a painting desk. Like, I have I have a desk. I just need to actually start doing it. Yeah, there's a ton of really cool looking minis. And I'm trying to remember, there was another one that had really cool minis too. They were metal that I just played earlier this year, like just in the past quarter. They were metal and they were very sharp. And they were also actually a little annoying because if you don't have the right kind of light, you can't tell. Mini painting? Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to do it on stream, but I do have a ton of minis and I have paint and I have done some mini painting when we played more D&D in person. So like the DM would be like, and you know, he makes it sound like we're coming up onto a dragon's nest. So what am I gonna do? I happen to have a dragon. Let's bust that out. Let's bust it out. Can I get that painted in 2 weeks before the next session? Before his next session, rather. Because we alternated. Priming. Right, priming. Yeah, priming. I absolutely prime all my stuff. I actually kind of don't. But then again, a lot of them are bones, so they don't really need priming, I don't think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, yeah. Just kind of gotta get into the groove. Gotta get into the groove. It doesn't help too with the rattle can. With for a while, no, because I didn't live in a place where I could do that without leaving marks. Now I can, but now it's kind of a well. If I do that, I'm gonna be leaving marks on my own garden brick, like flooring, and I don't. I don't know if I want to do that. I need to set up something for it. Maybe in the garage, actually. Like open up the garage. Mm, it'll be fine there, probably. Uh, mm. And I do have some things that are primed and I haven't finished yet. I actually have an airbrush too, but again, I didn't really have a place to use it for a long time. And it was so like for airbrushing, they say to make it like the consistency of 2% milk, and it's kind of a what kind of consistency does 2% milk have? I don't know. I don't drink that much milk. So, uh it was always very like worrisome like is this the right kind of setting for this for the airbrush? And then everything else associated with like tearing apart the airbrush. And I got the airbrush really cheap. Really, really stupidly cheap. Because it did not come with needles. And I don't have a compressor, but I know someone with a compressor. My guy, my Kingdom Death guy, my local friend who has Kingdom Death, has been wanting to like marble Kingdom Death figures before playing with them, but he doesn't have an airbrush. He just has a compressor, so it's kind of a hey, you can borrow the airbrush. You can borrow the airbrush. Like, I'm not gonna miss it. I haven't used it in years. Go ahead, paint those minis. We can't exactly bring Kingdom Death to the bar to play for like 5 different reasons, but we can set aside like once a month or so to bust out Kingdom Death for a game night in someone's home, maybe in the garden, and you can play this game that you've had for like 6 years and not gotten to break out. And and I get to learn a new game, which I've actually heard is like difficult. It's supposed to be difficult from what I've heard. But the figures are really pretty. Kingdom Death. Yeah, the figures are something else. There's actually, so you can play Kingdom Death solo, and I was looking at it because they have Tabletop Simulator. I'm not buying Kingdom Death to play. It's like, or rather, I already know someone who owns Kingdom Death. I'm not going to buy my own copy when I can simply ask him to play with me. Like, we'll get a group of like 3 or 4 people together for it. Because it's like a $200+ game for the base set. And I also know he's got a bunch of extra stuff for it too. So, like, why not? Why not? But there's a tabletop simulator version of it somewhere. But I don't know enough about Kingdom Death to know like which is the optimal version because there's a couple and like yeah, the rules are a bit the rules I need to read through yet. I need to read through them. But yeah, I think I've shown some Kingdom Death figures on here before, and they are pretty. They're pretty. Well, I say pretty. Some of them are very pretty, gorgeous. They are beautifully crafted, and some of them are intensely grotesque. Some are intensely grotesque. Yeah, it is a game. Yeah, yeah. I only knew of it first because of the one friend who owns it, and initially only about minis. Oh, well, actually, I follow a few people who do painting, mini painting, and some of them have brought up Kingdom Death figures, and yeah, initially didn't realize until I found the friend who owns a copy, and it was actually a game. Yeah. I think I've seen them pop up a lot because of like Object Source Light. That was a common thing, like people practicing that, so they would bust out Survivor, uh, usually Survivor pieces because they have the lanterns. And then there's like the is it the White Lion? That too. That was another popular figure to see painted. But so all right. If you're into minifigures, uh, the CEO and president of Reaper just passed away apparently suddenly, and mm, mm, sad news. But I have how many um bones Kickstarters were there because I think I have most of them with extras, and some of them are painted. Not like entire sets, but some things are painted. It was kind of more of a, well, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. We might as well have matching minis for whatever we pass, whatever we deal with. Like if we know that we're going to be fighting X, and now I have like a 3 foot glowing pirate ship in my closet now. That is kind of a like, do I paint it? Do I wait? What do I do with it? So it's just in my closet. That just arrived like last month, I think, in the last Kickstarter. And yeah, all the board games that have minis that could theoretically be painted. But I haven't done that yet either. Well, I mean, for some of them, it's fine-ish, because, like, oh, they're all yellow already. Uh, don't need to disguise whatever color team they're in. We can live with the way that they are. All this from board games. Okay. Uh, we are reading Grim Portents. We are reading Grim Portents. Actually, wait, hold on. Silverhawk, do you paint minis too? What kind of minis do you paint? Or do you just watch mini painting like I do? Actually, just tonight. Tonight, Al is going to be painting, right? Or is he already painting? Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. I don't usually get to catch those except for Sundays. sometimes because of schedule conflicts. Let's see. What is the schedule? Okay, 9:30. Okay. Okay. I'll probably catch that. Maybe I'll organize my table during that and like see what I can start painting to get through that backlog. I think I have like a coral monster or something like mostly painted in a bag somewhere. Actually, yeah. I think I do have a bag of stuff that's like prepped for painting, but I haven't started yet. Maybe I'll grab this out and pick a new jar for the water jar. Mm-hmm. Let's see. More often than not, grim portents have a logical order. The orcs tear down the city only after the peace talks fail, for example. A simple front will progress from bad to worse to much worse in a clear path forward. Sometimes, grim portents are unconnected pathways to the impending doom. The early manifestations of danger might not all be related. It's up to you to decide how complex your front will be. Whenever a danger comes to pass, check the other dangers in the front. In a complex front, you may need to cross off or alter the grim portents. That's fine, you're allowed. Keep scale in mind too. Grim portents don't all have to be world shaking. They can simply represent a change in direction for a danger, some new ways for it to cause trouble in the world. Think of your grim portents as possible moves waiting in the wings. When the time is right, unleash them on the world. I've chosen a few grim portents for my new front. The college sends an expedition to the gate. The key is discovered. The first trumpet sounds. A champion is chosen. The second trumpet sounds. The herald appears. The gate is opened. All I can think of is, isn't that something literally from the Bible, like about the trumpets sounding? I feel like that's a Revelations, like end time sort of thing. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It was one of the like more interesting books to read. Simply because it was kind of like unexpected content. I think I have like well, maybe 2 more cups of tea left. 1.5. Let's see. Let's see. When a grim portent comes to pass, check it off. The prophecy has come true. A grim portent that has come to pass might have ramifications on for your other fronts too. Have a quick look when your players aren't demanding your attention and feel free to make changes. One small grim portent may resound across the whole campaign in subtle ways. You can advance a grim portent descriptively or prescriptively. Descriptively means that you've seen the change happen during play, so you mark it off. Maybe the players sided with the goblin tribes against their lizard man enemies. Now the goblins control the tunnels. Lo and behold, this was the next step in a grim portent. Prescriptive is when, due to a failed player move or a golden opportunity, you advance the grim portent as your hard move. That step comes to pass, shows its effect, and keeps on asking, what do you do now? Impending doom. At the end of every dangerous path is an impending doom. This is the final toll of the bell that signals the danger's triumphant resolution. When a grim portent comes to pass, the impending doom grows stronger, more apparent and present in the world. These are the very bad things that every danger, in some way, seeks to bring to effect. Choose one of the types of impending dooms and give it a concrete form in your front. These often change in play, as the characters meddle in the affairs of the world. Don't fret, you can change them later. tyranny of the strong over the weak, or the few over the many, pestilence, the spread of sickness and disease, the end of wellness, destruction, apocalypse, ruin, and woe, usurpation, the chain of order comes apart, so when rightful is displaced, impoverishment, enslavement, the abandonment of goodness and right, rampant chaos, laws of reality, of society, or any order is dissolved. When all the grim portents of a danger come to pass, the impending doom sets in, and danger is then resolved, but the setting is changed in some meaningful way. This will almost certainly change the front at large as well. Making sure that these effects reverberate throughout the world is a big part of making them feel real. Oh no, there's diagrams. There's diagrams. I don't know if I can show this without like. Let's see, let's see, let's see. This is a multi-page one too. I can do something in paint real quick, maybe. Let me try that. I'll like cobble it together in paint. Photocopier? Bro, you don't even know. I want to say, like, have you ever actually used a photocopier? Have you? They were kind of on their way out when I was younger. Like, have you ever had to use a scanner? Okay, there's one page. Ah, mm, place it up here. Excellent. And we'll take this one. Hopefully get to place it so it won't cover up the other one. This normally I don't do this in paint, but Photoshop has been like really annoying lately. Really. It feels like it's slowing down. It's not feeling good anymore. Oh, I can nudge. Excellent. Okay. It still looks a little funky, but it's not the worst. Not straight either. That's okay. A new file just so I have a clean base. Excellent. Okay. That's so big. Just clip it a little bit. Right? It's not that young. Hmm. Hmm. I copy and paste it into here. It's not digging it. Not digging it. I guess I have to actually save it. I want to say, like, photographs of things are good and they're worth it for most things, but the scanning is usually better. But I want to say, I don't even have a scanner anymore. I don't think. But I also don't even have a printer anymore. What's the purpose? What's the point? Even when I was buying my garden, I don't. Mm, I did have to print out a few things when I was buying my garden. I didn't have to submit the papers necessarily, but they wanted like a hard copy signature on things, which is just kind of like, I can digitally sign this. It'll be fine. You won't even really be able to tell. You shouldn't be able to tell. But no, they wanted the gritty hard copy image and not like an actual good copy that just happened to be digitally signed. It's coming. No, where did I save it to? I save it to? Where does it get saved? Not saved to. I'm really disorganized. Okay, got saved to downloads. I'm really disorganized when it comes to this. I should probably reorganize things. I should clean things up. I think my downloads is like huge. Okay, so this is the image. This is the diagram. Gonna hit below a few things. So yeah. So we have our campaign front and our adventure fronts. This is a lot easier to read when it's not split on 2 pages. I want to say, have you ever used a fax machine? That one I feel like is going to be even rare. Or a film. What is it called? Microfiche? Is that what it's called? F-I-C-H-E? Microfilm things. You got to use one once. Fax machines. So frustrating. It's so very frustrating. I've also heard that you can like spam them too. It's just kind of why does anyone keep them anymore? They're supposed to be big in Japan though. Like they're still very popular there. But thankfully, it seems like emailing PDFs is the way that people are going now. Maybe not PDFs exactly, but emailing documents instead of faxing them. Okay, campaign front. Comprised of dangers. Dangers from an adventure front may move to the campaign front. Dangers from the campaign front may become active elements of an adventure front. What's the next section about? It's about stakes. Stakes. Your stakes questions are 1 to 3 questions about people, places, or groups that you're interested in. People include PCs and NPCs, your choice. Remember that your agenda includes play to find out what happens. Stakes are a way of reminding yourself what you want to find out. A lot more older workers. I just thought it was more of a resistance to change sort of thing, like in general. Thinking about groups that are still using fax here. I guess a lot more for like doctors' offices and things, where I guess security was a bigger issue. Say security, but are faxes really that secure? I don't truly know. Like, can you hijack addresses, phone numbers? Thinking about emails too, but just kind of maybe not think about that too hard. Like, I don't know if you can hide. You can pretend to be someone else sending something, which I guess is also a thing with faxes, like more easily. I suppose in the case of faxes, though, like you have to break into the location, assuming that it's impossible to hijack the number and like get a copy or get it directed sent to one place instead of another. Then otherwise you have to break into the location to get the documents that have been sent, versus email where you can break into someone's email. I'm not a security expert. far from it. Just musing. Mhm. I have to wonder, is there a Dungeon World? But no. Kind of like, is there a cyberpunk version of Dungeon Worlds? But then again, it's played by the Apocalypse, so there's bound to be a version of it somewhere out there with that flavor. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Just thinking about that because of there's Shadowrun, but like Shadowrun's a really cool concept. And these sorts of questions would be like straight up Shadowrun's alley about like security of technology. And I don't think that people consider Shadowrun like especially fun to play necessarily. So it's just like, is there a system that is more fun to play? And I guess there is actually like, didn't they just actually release a cyberpunk tabletop game? And people were saying it was just kind of like D&D, but reflavored, and they were disappointed in it because it's another D20 system. Well, I mean, you don't. You can be a D20 system and not be D&D flavored, but I think it was closer than that. But then again, I haven't read the rules, so maybe I've got it wrong. I'm not normally one for cyberpunk games, so I or like futuristic games, sci-fi games, so I tend to avoid that. A war game for it? A war game, like a digital war game for cyberpunk? Let's see, let's see, let's see. Mm, I don't know. Oh, something similar to. Wait. Okay, so like a tabletop war game. Okay, I get that. Huh. I I wonder how that works out. Because I know for like Warhammer, you have armies to play with, so in Cyberpunk you have something similar? Or is it like much, much smaller scale? Because I feel like Cyberpunk is a concept, unless you're playing as different factions in Cyberpunk. Again, I've never played Cyberpunk, any of them. Uh, and I haven't seen the anime. A whole squad, a little squad of dudes. Okay, so like a cell, perhaps. That makes a bit more sense. And it's probably a lot less to paint, too. And to buy. I know that for like Warhammer, it's mm, it's a lot of money to build an army in Warhammer. Skirmish light? Ah, okay. It I want to say it might make some sense, like smaller scale, faster games, easier for people to get into, probably. Stakes are concrete and clear. Don't write stakes about vague feelings or incremental changes. Stakes are about important changes that affect the PCs and the world. A good stakes question is one that, when it's resolved, means that things will never be the same again. The most important thing about stakes is that you find them interesting. Your stakes should be things that you genuinely want to know, but that you're also willing to leave to be resolved through play. Once you've written it as a stake, it's out of your hands. You don't get to just make it up anymore. Now you have to play it to find out. Playing to find out is one of the biggest rewards of playing Dungeon World. You've written down something tied to events happening in the world that you want to find out about. Now you get to just do that. Or get to do just that, rather. Once you have your stakes, your front is ready to play. My stake questions include, as tailored to my group, who will be the champion? How will Lux respond to the light from beyond? Will the college be able to recruit Avon? Next section is resolving affronts. This is all still part of the front chapter. Often, a front will be resolved in a simple and straightforward manner. A front representing a single dungeon may have its dangers killed, turned to good, or overcome by some act of heroism. In this case, the front is dissolved and set aside. Maybe there are elements of the front, dangers that go unresolved, or leftover members of a danger that's been cleared, that live on. Maybe they move to the campaign front as brand new dangers. The campaign front will need a bit more effort to resolve. It'll be working slowly and subtly as the course of the campaign rolls along. You won't introduce or resolve it all at once, but in pieces. The characters work towards defeating the various minions of the big bad that live in your campaign front. In the end, though, you'll know that the campaign front is resolved when the Dark God is confronted, or the undead plague claims the world and the heroes emerge, bloodied but victorious, or defeated and despairing. Campaign fronts take longer to deal with, but in the end, they're the most satisfying to resolve. When a front is resolved, take some extra time to sit down and look at the aftermath. Did any grim portents come to pass? Even if a danger is stopped, if any grim portents are fulfilled, the world has changed, if only in subtle ways. Keep this in mind when you write your future fronts. Is there anyone who could be moved from the now defeated front to somewhere else? Anyone get promoted or reduced in stature? The resolution of a front is an important event. When you resolve an adventure front, usually that means the adventure itself has been resolved. This is a great time to take a break and look at your campaign front. Let it inspire your next adventure front. Write up a new adventure front or polish off one you've been working on. Draw a few maps to go with it and get ready for the next big thing. Almost there. So close. Multiple adventure fronts. As you start your campaign, you're likely to have a lightly detailed campaign front and one or two detailed adventure fronts. Characters may choose, partway through an adventure, to pursue some other course. You might end up with a handful of partly resolved adventure fronts. Not only is this okay, it's a great way to explore a world that feels alive and organic. Always remember, fronts continue along a pace, no matter whether the characters are there to see them or not. Think off screen, especially where fronts are concerned. When running two adventure fronts at the same time, they can be intertwined or independent. The anarchists corrupting the city from the inside are a different front from the orcs amassing outside the walls, but they're both being play at once. On the other hand, one dungeon could have multiple fronts at play within its walls. The power and effects of the cursed place itself and the warring humanoid tribes that inhabit it. A situation warrants multiple adventure fronts when there are multiple impending dooms, all equally potent but not necessarily related. The impending doom of the anarchists is chaos in the city. The impending doom of the orcs is its utter ruination. They are two separate fronts with their own dangers. They'll deal with each other as well, so there's some room for the players choosing sides or attempting to turn the dangers of one front against the other. When dealing with multiple adventure fronts, the players are likely to prioritize. The cult needs attention now, the orcs can wait. Or vice versa. These decisions lead to the slow advancement of the neglected front, eventually causing more problems for the characters and leading to new adventures. This can get complex once you've got 3 or 4 fronts in play. Take care not to get overwhelmed. And we have hit page 200. We are done with page 200. We're almost halfway through. We're not actually halfway through because this book is 410 pages long, but we're almost closer to the end than the beginning. Almost. Let's see. An example front, the opening of the White Gate. Dangers, the College of Arcanus, Cabal, impulse to absorb those in power, to grow. Grimportance, for the College of Arcanus. The college sends an expedition to the gate. The key is discovered. The gate's powers is harnessed. The college seizes control. The impending doom is usurpation. The White Gate is the next danger. It's a dark portal. Its impulse is to disgorge demons. Grim portents include the first trumpet sounds. The second trumpet sounds. The gate is opened. Impending doom is destruction. The Argent Seraphim, choir of angels. The impulse is to pass judgment. For importance, a champion is chosen. An organization of power is formed or co-opted. The herald appears. Judgment is passed. The impending doom is tyranny. Description and cast. An ancient gate buried for aeons in the icy north. It opens into a realm of pure light, guarded by the Argent Seraphim. It was crafted only to be opened at Judgment Day, so that the Seraphim could come forth and purge the realm of men. It was recently uncovered by the College of Arcanus, who do not yet understand its terrible power. Oren Belceris, Arcanist Supreme. Haliel, voice of the Seraphim. Drudge, a manservant. Custom moves. When you stand in the presence of the light from beyond, roll plus wisdom. On a 10 plus, you are judged worthy. The Argent Seraphim will grant you a vision or boon. On a 7 through 9, you are under suspicion and see a vision of what dark fate might befall you if you do not correct your ways. On a miss, thou art weighed in the balance and art found wanting. Stakes. Who will be the champion? How will Lux respond to the holy light? Will the college be able to recruit Avon? And next is chapter 16, which is the world. I'm actually going to take a real quick break here so I can make a little bit more tea, and also check to see how long this section is. Actually, I can count that right now. How long is the world? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 pages is not so bad. 15 pages is not nearly that bad. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take a very quick break. And I'm actually, before that, I'm going to update this because we're going to be reading about the world. Oh, actually, one more thing. Like, are we going to eventually read about the dungeon? Because we have a section here called the world. So, like, is there the dungeon? And not exactly, no. There's no section called the dungeon, just the world. Okay. I'm gonna finish off my tea here then. Now it's kind of a case of like, do I make more green tea or do I make something else? Maybe keep the green tea. And I will be back in a few minutes. And it's back. Took a little long. I didn't boil enough water the first time. I had to do a second round. The boiler is a little finicky. And I think I still need to let it steep. Still need to let it steep so I can't like immediately start drinking. But we have a few minutes for that. Just a few minutes. But in the meantime, we do have more. Thank you. Thank you, Deku. We do have a bit more book. We have 15-ish pages for the world to try and get through. Let's see. Mm. I want to say, like, building the world as a GM is kind of, it's like a very fun part of GMing, but at the same time, it's a bit nerve wracking too. But I suppose, like, it's not, actually playing tends to be nerve wracking, like, based on the content from the world. And then you throw out things sometimes because of the players, but that's why you're supposed to leave blanks. That's why you're supposed to leave blanks and kind of move with the groove. So, what kind of advice do they have in here for the world? For the GM in Dungeon World? I do actually have some water here too, so I'm going to drink a little bit first. I didn't bring it with me on my break. Okay. Much of the adventuring life is spent in dusty, forgotten tomes or in places of terror and life-threatening danger. It's commonplace to awaken from a short and fitful rest, still deep in the belly of the world and surrounded by foes. When the time comes to emerge from these places, whether laden with the spoils of battle or beaten and bloody, an adventurer seeks out safety and solace. These are the comforts of civilization: a warm bath, a meal of meat and bread, the company of fellow men and elves and dwarves and halflings. Often thoughts of returning to these places are all that keep an adventurer from giving up altogether. All fight for gold and glory, but who doesn't ache for a place to spend that gold and laugh around a fire, listening to tales of folly and adventure? Actually, I forgot to put the audio back on. Let me do that. Let's start the fireplace back up. I'm actually recently I with the sound of music in the stores and everything, I realized I could actually roast chestnuts over an open fire now, since I have a fireplace of my very own. It was just kind of a case of how do you do that? How do you roast chestnuts? And then finding out, oh, you need a cast iron, something or other, to cook them in. So it's just kind of an, oh, I don't have one of those that I want to put in the fireplace. I guess I'll just have to pass on the chestnuts for now. Then I found that you can do them in tinfoil. So I have chestnuts now. Actually, I just realized I was thinking of doing them today, like tonight, for lunch, and I just realized I don't have any tinfoil. I've ran out during like making holiday food. Like I have maybe it's the amount of tinfoil I have doesn't even cover the roll. It's like a mini skirt of tinfoil on this roll. That's it. So I have to get more tinfoil before I can make chestnuts over the open fire. Oh, so I guess I have to go shopping for that. Maybe not tonight. I was going to start decorating the house for the holidays and like, set the fire up, with some leftover wood and do the chestnuts, and that should be a good smell for the holidays. And no, everything dashed. Everything dashed. It'll have to be another day. It'll have to be another day. Mhm. This chapter covers the wider world, the grand and sweeping scope outside the dungeon. The always marching movement of the GM's fronts will shape the world, and, in turn, the world reflects the actions the players take to stop or to redirect them. Yeah, tragedy. Tragedy, not being able to have chestnuts roasting over an open fire. I actually still don't know 100% how I'm going to do that though, because I it's my second season with a fireplace, and it's kind of a case of I I still don't know 100% of what I'm doing. I'll learn. I'll learn. Steadings. Steadings. We call all the assorted communities, holds, and so on, where there's a place to stay in some modicum of civilization, steadings, as in homestead. Steadings are places with at least a handful of inhabitants, usually humans, and some stable structures. They can be as big as a capital city or as small as a few ramshackle buildings. Creating the world. Remember how you started the first session, with action either underway or impending? At some point, the characters are going to need to retreat from that action, either to heal their wounds or to celebrate and resupply. When the players leave the site of their first adventure for the safety of civilization, it's time to start drawing the campaign map. Take a large sheet of paper, plain white if you like, or hex gridded if you want to get fancy. Place it where everyone can see, and make a mark for the site of the adventure. Use pencil. This map will change. It can be to scale and detailed or broad and abstract, depending on your preference. Just make it obvious. Keep the mark small and somewhere around the center of the paper so you have space to grow. If you wish to make, okay, this is a sidebar. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Carl Sagan? Cosmos. Is it Carl Sagan or Carl Sagan? I don't know. I've read the name and I vaguely know what he looks like. But I don't know how to pronounce the name. I know someone who gets compared to him a lot in terms of appearance. Let's see, let's see. When you're in town. Oh, wait, nope. I skipped a bit. We are continuing the previous section. Now at the nearest steading, a place the characters can go to rest and gather supplies. Draw a mark for that place on the map and fill in the space between with some terrain features. Try to keep it within a day or two of the site of their first adventure. A short trip through a rocky pass or some heavy woods is suitable, or a wider distance by road or across open ground. When you have time, after the first session or during a snack break, for example, use the rules to create the first steading. Consider adding marks for other places that have been mentioned so far, either details from character creation or the steading rules themselves. While you're in town, when the players visit a steading, there are some special moves they'll be able to make. These still follow in the fictional flow of the game. When the players arrive, ask them, "What do you do?" The player's actions will, more often than not, trigger a move from this list. They cover respite, reinvigoration, and resupply, opportunities for the players to gather their wits and spend their treasure. Remember that a steading isn't a break from reality. You're still making hard moves when necessary and thinking about how the player's action, or inaction, advances your fronts. The impending doom is always there, whether the players are fighting it in the dungeon or ignoring it while getting drunk in the local tavern. Definitely have seen that. Don't let a visit to a steading become a permanent respite. Remember, Dungeon World is a scary, dangerous place. If the players choose to ignore that, they're giving you a golden opportunity to make a hard move. Fill the characters' lives with adventure whether they're seeking it out or not. These moves exist so you can make a visit to town an interesting event without spending a whole session haggling over the cost of a new baldric. God, the number of times I've seen that happen where, like, the shopping session is kind of a. Sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's a real distraction. And, like, we only have X, or rather, like, this game is only supposed to be X sessions long, but now with town, now every visit to town is like at least a session, if not 2 or 3, for some reason or other. Oh. Just with a new pot of tea, I put my mug right next to it and I can feel the heat emanating. It feels really nice. Like, not touching it, just putting your hands around it like an inch or 2 off. Like feeling the warmth through the air. Comforting. It's like a water bottle in terms. I mean, like, technically, I guess it is almost a water bottle, just glass and not rubber. Mm. Elements of a steading. A steading is any bit of civilization that offers some amount of safety to its inhabitants. Villages, towns, keeps, and cities are the most common steadings. Steadings are described by their tags. All steadings have tags indicating prosperity, population, and defenses. Many will have tags to illustrate their more unusual properties. Steadings are differentiated based on size. The size indicates roughly how many people the steading can support. The population tag tells you if the current population is more than or less than this current amount. Villages are the smallest steadings. They're usually out of the way, off the main roads. If they're lucky, they can muster some defense, but it's often just rabble with pitchforks and torches. A village stands near some easily exploitable resource: rich soil, plentiful fish, an old forest, or a mine. There might be a store of some sort, but more likely it's people trade amongst themselves. Coin is scarce. Towns have 100 or so inhabitants. They're the kind of place that springs up around a mill, trading post, or inn, and usually have fields, farms, and livestock of some kind. They might have a standing militia of farmers strong enough to wield a blade or shoot a bow. Towns have the basics for sale, but certainly no special goods. Usually they'll focus on a local product or two and do some trade with travelers. A keep is a steading built specifically for defense, sometimes of a particularly important location like a river delta or a rich gold mine. Keeps are found at the frontier edges of civilization. Inhabitants are inured to the day-to-day dangers of the road. They're tough folks that number between 100 and 1,000, depending on the size of the keep and the place it defends. Keeps won't often have much beyond their own supplies, traded to them from nearby villages, but will almost always have arms and armor, and sometimes a rare magical item found in the local wilds. From bustling trade center to sprawling metropolis, the city represents the largest sort of steading in Dungeon World. These are places where folk of many races and kinds can be found. They often exist at the confluence of a handful of trade routes, or are built in a place of spiritual significance. They don't often generate their own raw materials for trade, relying on supplies from villages nearby for food and resources, but will always have crafted goods and some stranger things for sale to those willing to seek them. Prosperity indicates what kind of items are usually available. Population indicates the number of inhabitants relative to the current size of the steading. Defenses indicate the general scope of arms the steading has. Tags in these categories can be adjusted. Category means to change the setting to the next lower tag for that category. Sorry, it's a negative category means to change the setting of the next lower tag for that category. So moderate would become poor with negative prosperity. Plus category means to change the setting to the next higher tag. So shrinking becomes steady with plus population. This sounds like there's a table coming up. There's a table coming up. Tags in those categories can also be compared like numbers. Treat the lowest tag in that category as 1, and each successive tag as the next number. So dirt is 1, poor is 2, etc. Tags will change over the course of play. Creating a setting provides a snapshot of what that place looks like right now. As the players spend time in it and your fronts progress, the world will change and your settings with it. So just kind of this is a long-term thing, is it? Adding settings. You add your first setting when you create the campaign map. It's the place the players go to rest and recover. When you first draw it on the map, all you need is a name and location. When you have the time, you'll use the rules below to create the setting. The first setting is usually a village, but you can use a town if the first adventure was closely tied to humans. For example, if the players fought a human cult. Create it using the rules below. Once you've created the first setting, you can add other places referenced in its tags. The Oath, Trade, and Enmity tags in particular, or anywhere else that's been referred to in play. Don't add too much in the first session. Leave blanks and places to explore. As play progresses, the characters will discover new locales and places of interest either directly by stumbling upon them in the wild, or indirectly by hearing about them in rumors or tales. Add new settings, dungeons, and other locations to the map as they're discovered or heard about. Villages are often near a useful resource. Towns are often found at the point where several villages meet to trade. Keeps watch over important locations. Cities rely on the trade and support of smaller steads. Dungeons can be found anywhere and in many forms. Whenever you add a new setting, use the rules to decide its tags. Consider adding a distinctive feature somewhere nearby. Maybe a forest, some old standing stones, an abandoned castle, or whatever else catches your fancy or makes sense. A map of only settings and ruins with nothing in between is dull. Don't neglect the other features of the world. Setting tags. Prosperity. Dirt. Nothing for sale. Nobody has more than they need, and they're lucky if they have that. Unskilled labor is cheap. Next tag is poor. Only the bare necessities for sale. Weapons are scarce unless the setting is heavily defended or militant. Unskilled labor is readily available. Moderate is the next tag. Most mundane items are available. Some types of skilled laborers. Wealthy is the next. Any mundane item can be found for sale. Most kinds of skilled laborers are available, but demand is high for their time. Rich. Mundane items and more, if you know where to find them. Specialist labor available, but at high prices. Next tag set is population. Exodus. The setting has lost its population and is on the verge of collapse. Shrinking. The population is less than it once was. Buildings stand empty. Steady. The population is in line with the current size of the setting. Some slow growth. Growing. More people than there are buildings. Booming. Resources are stretched thin trying to keep up with the number of people. Defenses is the next set of tags. None. Clubs, torches, farming tools. Militia. There are able-bodied men and women with worn weapons ready to be called, but no standing force. Watch. There are a few watchers posted who look out for trouble and settle small problems, but their main role is to summon the militia. Guard. There are armed defenders at all times with a total pool of less than 100, or equivalent. There's always at least one armed patrol about the steading. Garrison. There are armed defenders at all times with a total pool of 100 to 300, or equivalent. There are multiple armed patrols at all times. Battalion. As many as 1,000 armed defenders, or equivalent. The steading has maintained defenses as well. Legion. The steading is defended by thousands of armed soldiers, or equivalent. The steading's defenses are intimidating. I just realized we're at page 210 out of 410. We are over the halfway mark, and we hit that halfway mark probably before the break. Let me check. When do we hit it? Oh, we actually hit it when we started the world. So after the break, we hit or like, the world, page 205 is the very first. Page 205 is the first page of the world. So when we finish that page after the break, that's the halfway point. That's the halfway point. Other tags. Safe. Outside trouble doesn't come here until the players bring it. Idyllic and often hidden. If the setting would lose or degrade another beneficial tag, get rid of safe instead. Religion. The listed deity is revered here. Exotic. There are goods and services available here that aren't available anywhere else nearby. List them. Resource. The setting has easy access to the listed resources, e.g., a spice, a type of ore, fish, grapes. That resource is significantly cheaper. Need. The setting has an acute or ongoing need for the listed resource. That resource sells for considerably more. Oath. The setting has sworn oaths to the listed settings. These oaths are generally fealty or support, but may be more specific. Trade. The setting regularly trades with the listed settings. Market. Everyone comes here to trade. On any given day, the available items may be far beyond their prosperity. +1 to supply. Enmity. The setting holds a grudge against the listed settings. Oh, no. No. I was in the wrong window. I had a button. Okay. Okay. Real quick. See, that didn't happen. Let's see. History. Something important once happened here. Choose one and detail or make up your own. Battle, miracle, myth, romance, tragedy. I initially read that as like batical, like battle and miracle all together in one. Batical. Arcane. Someone in town can cast arcane spells for a price. This tends to draw more arcane casters, +1 to recruit when you put out word you're looking for an adept. Divine. There is a major religious presence, maybe a cathedral or a monastery. They can heal and maybe even raise the dead for a donation or a resolution of a quest. Take +1 to recruit priests here. Guild. The listed type of guild has a major presence, and usually a fair amount of influence. If the guild is closely associated with a type of hireling, +1 to recruit that type of hireling. Personage. There's a notable person who makes their home here. Give them a name and a short note on why they're notable. Dwarven. The setting is significantly or entirely dwarves. Dwarven goods are more common and less expensive than they typically are. Elven. The setting is significantly or entirely elves. Elven goods are more common and less expensive than they typically are. Craft. The setting is known for excellence in the listed craft. Items of their chosen craft are more readily available here, or of higher quality than found elsewhere. Sabbatical from Cleric's Guild of War. Initially, the very first thought I had was, oh, that's what, I don't remember the exact word for it, but in Final Fantasy XIV, there was when 1.0 went down, they played a video to show what happens in the battle, and a miracle happens in battle, pretty much. It was just kind of that's an example of a sabbatical. So just kind of like, what happens with a sabbatical then? Like, I guess that's more, all I can think of is how sabbatical might mean something a little different in Vampire the Masquerade then, huh? Mm-mm. Let's see. Hello, Daranjan. How are you doing? Let's see. I'm almost done with all the tags. Oh, hello, Spooky Cat. Thank you for the raid. Let me shout you out. Spooky Cat. How did your stream go? Were you also reading? Yes, you were also reading. What were you reading? Thank you for the follow, Boo-Hoo Kitty. And hello, Murph and PB and Consignment Ray and Pickles and Countdown. That really was kind of a countdown to chaos there. Hello, Hell Priestess. I am reading through Dungeon World. It's a tabletop system that is it's a fantasy tabletop system. And it is open source, actually. So this is all available for free online if you so choose to look it up. Thank you for the follow as well, Countdown to Chaos. For those who don't know me, I am the Evening Primrose. I am a garden elf. I am a night blooming garden elf. I come out at night. I wake up with sunset, usually. And I like to play tabletop games, like board games too. So I've been reading through Dungeon World, the rule set. I have played as a player. I have never played as a GM, and we are currently reading through like the GM rules, which are actually really, really useful. This is the kind of thing where you can use these rules for other systems as well, like to build up your world and to keep things kind of open and loose and free. It's been pretty enlightening. But yeah, trying to encourage people to read the rules of the games that they may one day play. Edgar Allan Poe and then Grimm Fairy Tales. The Fall of the House of Usher. Yeah, I can get that. Like when they have longer names like that, when they, I guess, make it into a prepositional phrase, different kind of prepositional phrase than you're expecting. Because they want all I can think of is, did he write by the word? That makes it feel a bit like that kind of title. Like, you got paid by the word. I feel like I've run into that with a lot of the older stories as well that I've read. Yeah, definitely paid by the word. Grimm Fairy Tales are kind of interesting too. They're sometimes a bit more rambly than you would expect. Imagine getting paid by the word, the dream. Really? I guess a lot of people get paid by the page. If so, I guess well, actually the main key there really is getting paid. Oh, also thank you, Pickles Blossom and Goddammit Ray, for following me as well. Yeah, I guess getting paid in general is the dream, huh? Getting paid's alright. And not getting exposure. Because exposure doesn't pay. Exposure doesn't pay the mortgage. My loan officer is not going to consider exposure payment. I get that too. Invest in a thesaurus and go to town on description. So basically, become Lovecraft and like, or I hate to say this, but like Tolkien wrote a whole lot of description and a lot less action. Yeah, I read some Lovecraft on stream, and it's just sort of like, wow, what happens here can probably be boiled down into like a few pages, a few scant pages. Mm-hmm. Yeah, descriptions. I hate to admit it. I read The Hobbit. I I made it only halfway through the middle book, The Two Towers. Uh, I think it was a battle scene, and I misplaced the book, and I never got back into it. I haven't finished reading it. This was literally decades ago. I think I found my copy again, but I still haven't finished it. Mm. I want to say that's also a problem a bit in some tabletop RPG books too. A lot of pages of not descriptors exactly, but uh, a lot of padding, because oftentimes otherwise, like if there's no padding, no flavor text, the rules might be quite a bit shorter, and people want bang for their buck. They want a nice thick book for like 40, 50 bucks. Which kind of explains why some books are written the way they are. Not that flavor is necessarily bad, but it can get overly long and frustrating. It can get overly long and frustrating. I'm thinking if you have ever read Scion, first edition Scion, the prose in that, the like flavor text, the story was particularly egregious. There was even, I think, a section where in character they were just kind of standing around awkwardly for a few minutes, and like you didn't need to make the scene happen. Did you need to make the scene happen just to fill out like another line to meet a requirement? This could have been cut. This could have been cut. I want to say at least the Scion 2e. The Scion 2e book had a much better story along with it. At least for the hero. Not hero. Origin. Origin. Mm. Mm. Uh, give me a second. I hear something tapping outside, and I'm really hoping it's rain, but I'm not certain. I just want to check that it's not something outside. Okay, it was just rain. I just had to make sure. I'm Brother Mouse. I mm, I played a really creepy game yesterday. It was sad creepy. Like I was trying very hard not to bawl on stream actually. Uh and with the creepiness factor of it also, it's just kind of a just want to double check that there's nothing outside the window. While I can. While I can. Or there's people that will maybe notice if I'm missing. Sad creepy game. Yeah, it's called the Cat Museum. It's called the Cat Museum. Uh, I am very jumpy as a person, so like other people might not think it's that scary. Like, it's not scary per se, but there's definitely some portions that are a bit jump scary. Yeah, that was yesterday. Um, it's also fairly short. It's a one session kind of thing. Uh, jumpy is an understatement. Look. Look. Okay, yeah, I don't have the constitution to play horror games, scary games, creepy games. Yeah, it's creepy. It's like a short Steam game. It's also fairly cheap because it's a point and click puzzle adventure. Uh, it's a time filler. It's a time filler. Uh, yeah, horror games. I was actually looking at Switch games to get for because I just got a capture card, and it was kind of a I could get Fatal Frame. I've heard a lot about it, and the premise always seemed really cool. And maybe I should get that. Maybe I should get Fatal Frame. And then someone pointed out, like, can you actually play Fatal Frame, Brim? Are you capable of playing Fatal Frame? Do you think you can play a Silent Hill game? It's just kind of a. I've watched other people play Silent Hill. Can you play a Silent Hill game? And all I can think of is like, no, I guess I can't. I guess I can't. Maybe I shouldn't have put Fatal Frame on my wish list. One day I'll work up to it. A dream, a dream. I'll be able to play the games. Like maybe I'll still be like shrieking and stuff about it, but uh, not literally backing away from the screen and hiding my face. I think the scariest game I've played so far has been, I think it's Cooking with Friends. That one was the scariest. Let me check. Is it Cooking with Friends? No, Cooking Companions? Companion. It's Cooking Companions. Yeah, yeah, that one was the scariest. Cooking Companions. It's a dating sim psychological horror game. Indie piece. It's a visual novel of sorts. And there's a free appetizer edition on Steam as well if you just want to try it out. Yeah, yeah. There's a free appetizer edition. I would highly suggest trying that out before buying the game if you're not sure about it. Yeah, I did not buy the game. I only played appetizer. And uh there's a clip somewhere buried in my clip section of me reacting to the starting screen after playing through one of the paths of appetizer edition, and one of those embarrassing things where like, why did I scream? Why did I scream before I fixed my audio settings? And that's why I'm not putting Fatal Frame on my wish list. How many more pages do I have to go through for this section? I was going to finish up the the current section, which is the world for today. You wish games gave you a scare like that? No. Your heart going pitter patter. It's not fun. You're steadfast. Nothing phases you. It's. Mm. Oh, thank you for the follow, Quint. It's kind of rough being so jumpy. Mm. Thinking. I know a number of people who seem to be quite calm. You scare chat more than the game does to you. How does that work? How do you scare chat? How do you scare chat? Teach me how to scare chat. Oh, Oh, I could see that working. I could see that working. I don't know if I could do that though. Working my way out. Working my way out. I want to say at least after a few repeated exposures to the same trigger, I don't get bothered by it anymore, but it sometimes takes like okay, first time I will scream. Second time may or may not scream. Third time probably not going to scream. If it's been like 10 minutes since then though, I'm probably going to scream again. I'll work towards it. Okay. Dungeon World. I've been reading through tags for creating steads, which are basically like uh, hamlets, cities, keeps, etc. So we already went through the tags for population, defenses, and we're working our way through the other tags that include like random bits and bobs. So, history. Something important once happened here. Choose one in detail or make up your own. Oh, we read that one because that's where it came up to like battle, miracle, myth, romance, tragedy. And I was like, ah, yes, the Vatical. The Vatical. Okay. So we did divine, we did arcane, we did guild. We got down to craft, I believe. We finished craft. So lawless is the next one. Crime is rampant, authority is weak. Robotical? This is a fantasy game, so probably not robots. If you want a sci fi version of this, there probably isn't one. You can find a different Powered by the Apocalypse game that would be a robotical. All I could think of is like, it's not Robanza. Ah, Robonica? It's Robonica, right? Isn't it? A robotical is what? Or, well, a robot takes a sabbatical? Or is it a robot miracle? Ah, it's probably a robot sabbatical. Blight. The steading has a reoccurring problem, usually a type of monster. Power. The steading holds sway of some type, typically political, divine, or arcane. Steading names. Greybark, Nook's Crossing, Tanner's Ford, Goldenfield, Barrow Bridge, Rum River, Brindenburg, Shambles, Covenor, Enfield, Crystal Falls, Castle Daunting, Nulty's Harbor, Castonshire, Cornwood, Irongate, Mayhill, Pigton, Crosses, Battlemore, Torsha, Curland, Snowcombe, Seawall, Garlosh, Terminum, Avonia, Bucksburg, Settle Down, Goblin Jaw, Hammerford, Pitt, The Grey Fast, And It Bends, Harrison's Hold, Fortress Anduin, Blackstone. And they just throw a whole bunch of names at you without describing how you could potentially make names. That could have been a little bit that they could have had in here. Hmm. It is really fun to make new place names, though, just thinking, like looking up etymology and how places are currently named. Like, there's a place called Fishkill, which does not actually have to do with like killing fish directly. Uh, Fishkill is more like, let me check. I think it's more like just describing a river or something. Let's see. Fishkill. Streamer Creek. Yeah, so like a kill is a streamer, a creek. And there's tons of words like that they can piece together to make a new town name that is totally normal uh, and like appropriate for like a traditional fantasy setting, and may or may not exist in the current world. May or may not exist in the current world. Making a village. By default, a village is poor, steady, militia, resource, your choice, and has an oath to another standing of your choice. If the village is part of a kingdom or empire, choose one. The village is somewhere naturally defended, safe, minus defenses. The village has abundant resources that sustain it, plus prosperity, resource, your choice, enmity, or your choice. When they're describing like plus defenses and minus defenses and plus prosperity, there's a sort of a chart that I went through earlier describing like safety levels and prosperity levels as tags. So like poor, I think, was a suggested value of, no, dirt is the lowest prosperity tag. So like that would be maybe like a 0 if you're like a 0 counter rate person. And then poor would be a 1, moderate would be 2, 3 would be wealthy, 4 would be rich, that sort of thing. So describing plus or minus means that they go up or down a level in terms of tags. So they were moderate but negative prosperity. Now they're poor instead. And the same thing with defenses. There's none, a 0, militia, 1, 2 is watch, 3 is guard, 4 is garrison, 5 is battalion, and 6 is legion. So for making a village, once again, the village is under the protection of another steading, oath, that steading, plus defenses. The village is on a major road, trade, your choice, plus prosperity. The village is built around a wizard's tower. Personage, the wizard. Blight, arcane creatures. That one's kind of fun to break out too. The village was built on the site of religious significance. Divine, history, your choice. Choose a problem, one problem. The village is an arid or uncultivatable land, has a need of food. The village is dedicated to a deity, religious, that deity, enmity, a settlement of another deity. The village has recently fought a battle, minus population, prosperity, or minus population and minus prosperity if they fought to the end, minus defenses if they lost. The village has a monster problem, blight, that monster, need, adventurers. The village has absorbed another village, plus population, lawless. The village is remote or unwelcoming, minus prosperity, dwarven or elven. Just kind of a unwelcoming. Dwarven or elven could be, like, that may not necessarily work, but I guess that's also up to the DM to decide. In Dungeon World, your classes determine your race as well. Not all classes are open to all races, so I think the cleric, for instance, is limited to human or dwarf. I think for a wizard, I think it's human or elven, that sort of thing. And like if you're a paladin, you could only be human. So it makes the races a bit weirdly dispersed. Maybe weird is not the right word. More traditionally dispersed, like closer to older games where potentially like elf is a class. There are only maybe, I think there's less than a dozen classes in Dungeon World vanilla, so to speak, like the open source Dungeon World, the free Dungeon World. But there are people who made additional classes, and they may or may not have them for free, or they might sell them on like Uh, trying to remember. There are sites for this sort of thing, like dmsguild.com, that sort of thing. People might sell their classes there. Snowboarder class locks you out of picking the Australian race. You don't have snowboarders? You don't? I guess that makes sense. Like, uh, just like Jamaican bobsledders. Like they could exist. They could exist. Uh, I guess I kind of imagine like maybe there are parts of Australia that could get that cold that might get snow if you go like really, really far south, but maybe not. 5 weeks and only in super specific areas. Okay. Okay. And actually, isn't it coming up to like summer for you? Or like it is summer? Wait. No, it's your spring. And summer comes December 20th ish, 21st. That's when it switches over for winter for us. Oh, okay. I have water, but I'm going to be drinking tea. I have some green tea today. It's my second pot. Blech. It's like a decade old green tea, but it's still good. It's still good. And still just as bitter and grassy as it was when it was new. I swear. It's only 4 days from summer? Oh. So you count it as in like whole months and not the halfway points. So this was something I found really cool when I was world building for my campaign. So there's multiple ways that you can consider the seasons, right? Uh, a lot of people do it on, what is it? September 21st, December 21st. Like the dates are a little wibbly. They might be the 20th, 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. But, so September 21st, December 21st, June 21st, and what is it? March 21st? But there are others where it's counted in whole months. So, like, you'll have September, October, November as fall. Winter is December, January, February. And spring is March, April, May. That sort of situation. And it kind of makes it a little awkward to combine the two a little bit because what if you want to have like midsummer? Actually, wait. When is midsummer in the whole month arena? So it's June, July, August. It's July. July 15th ish, I guess, is midsummer. Hmm. I guess that's still a problem, actually. But when is midsummer normally? Midsummer. So midsummer is normally like June 24th. So maybe I counted a little wrong there. Because then I guess it's like May, June, July as summer. But that doesn't really feel like it jives, does it? So it's May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Then we're already in winter? Man, the seasons are a bit. Seasons are rough. Seasons are rough. You don't really start thinking about all these different combinations unless you're trying to like make a calendar including a bunch of holidays like this revolving, especially around the seasons. It's just now starting to get early cold, but it's still November. It's still fall. Undeniably fall. Undeniably fall. All the leaves haven't all fallen yet for me. I have a really big tree just outside my garden that has it's beautiful with orange and red leaves now, but they still haven't dropped and they've already collected all the leaves. So it's just kind of what am I supposed to do with these once they fall? And they are going to fall. What do I do with them? Do I leave them? Do I put them in another pile? And just wait for them to get picked up in like June, because that's when they're probably next going to come by to pick up leaves. But I guess at least for now I still have the beautiful view from outside. Or rather from inside my garden outside to see these beautiful orange and red leaves. Just running a little late. Just running a little bit late. Most of the rest are gone. I am really glad though that I have hedges. I love hedges. They're it's really nice for privacy. Garden clippings? Uh Only so many times per year. Only so many times per year. Otherwise I would have to tote them around myself. And I don't necessarily have the capability to do that. I suppose I could probably pay someone else to do it, but yeah, no, they already came. They already came for this holiday. Yeah, yeah. They started at the beginning of November, and it's just kind of the trees are still not done, bro. Please come back. Can you do this in like December? Like they just look down the street as they're coming by and think, yes, this one has enough. We'll do the collection now. It's not a set date that they come by. Yeah. I'll just have to see if they'll come by again, if I end up taking care of the leaves once again. Thankfully, I don't have too much of a mess in the garden right now for it, but most of those have already dropped. It's just the ones outside that haven't dropped mostly. Let's see. Next, we have making a town. By default, a town is moderate, steady, watch, and trade, two of your choice. If the town is listed as trade by another setting, choose one. The town is booming. Booming, lawless. The town stands on a crossroads. Market plus prosperity. The town is defended by another setting. Oath, not steading, plus defenses. The town is built around a church. Power, divine. The town is built around a craft. Craft, your choice. Resource, something required for that craft. The town is built around a military post, plus defenses. Choose one problem. The town has grown too big for an important supply, like grain, wood, or stone. Need, that resource. Trade, a village or town with that resource. The town offers defense to others. Oath, your choice. Defenses, or minus defenses. Minus defenses. The town is notorious for an outlaw who is rumored to live there. Personage, that outlaw. Enmity, where the crimes were committed. The town has a disease. Minus population. The town is a popular meeting place. Plus population. Lawless. Making a keep. By default, a keep is poor, shrinking, guard, need, supplies, trade, someplace with supplies, oath, your choice. If the keep is owed fealty by at least one settlement, choose one. The keep belongs to a noble family, plus prosperity, power, political. The keep is run by a skilled commander. Personage, the commander, plus defenses. The keep stands watch over a trade road, plus prosperity, guild, trade. The keep is used to train special troops. Arcane, minus population. The keep is surrounded by fertile land. Remove need supplies. The keep stands on a border. Plus 2 fences. Enmity, steading on the other side of the border. Choose one problem. The keep is built on a naturally defensible position. Safe, minus population. Thank you for the follow, Dismayed Day. The keep was a conquest from another power. Enmity, settings of that power. The keep is a safe haven for brigands. Lawless. The keep was built to defend from a specific threat. Blight, that threat. The keep has seen horrible bloody war. History, battle. Blight, restless spirits. The keep is given the worst of the worst. Need, skilled recruits. Making a city. By default, a city is moderate, steady, guard, market, and guild, one of your choice. It also has oaths with at least 2 other steadings, usually a town and a keep. If the city has trade with at least 1 steading and fealty from at least 1 steading, choose one. The city has permanent defenses like walls, plus defenses, oath, your choice. The city is ruled by a single individual, personage, the ruler, power, political. The city is diverse, dwarven or elven or both. The city is a trade hub. Trade, every steading nearby, plus prosperity. The city is ancient, built on top of its own ruins. History, your choice, divine. The city is a center of learning. Arcane, craft of your choice. Power, arcane. Choose one problem. The city has outgrown its resources, plus population, need, food. The city has designs on nearby territory, enmity, nearby settings, plus defenses. The city is ruled by a theocracy, negative defenses, power, divine. The city is ruled by the people, negative defenses, plus population. Just kind of like, so being a democracy is bad for defense? Interesting there. Although then again, thinking about how that usually plays out, and I played an okay amount of Alpha Centauri, and the options for selecting in that game, ruling styles a bit, and like, yeah, okay, I can see it there. The city has supernatural defenses, plus defenses, blight, related supernatural creatures. The city lies on a place of power. Arcane, personage, whoever watches the place of power. Blight, arcane creatures. Let me check. Let's see. Fronts on the campaign map. Your steadings are not the only thing on the campaign map. In addition to steadings and the area around them, your fronts will appear on the map, albeit indirectly. Fronts are organizational tools, not something the characters think of, so don't put them on the map directly. The orcs of Olgothol may be a front, but don't just draw them on the map. Instead, for each front, add some feature to the map that indicates the front's presence. You can label it if you like, but use the name that the characters would use, not the name you gave the front. For example, the orcs of Olgothol could be marked on the map with a burning village they left behind, fires in the distance at night, or a stream of refugees. Lord Zothal, a lich, might be marked by the tower where dead plants take root and grow. As your fronts change the map. If the players cleanse Zothel's tower, redraw it. If the orcs are driven off, erase the crowd of refugees. Updating the campaign map. The campaign map is updated between sessions or whenever the player spends significant downtime in a safe space. Updates are both prescriptive and descriptive. If an event transpires that, say, gathers a larger fighting force to a village, update the tags to reflect that. Likewise, if a change in tags means that a village has a bigger fighting force, you're likely to see more armored men in the streets. Between each session, check each of the conditions below. Go down the list and check each condition for all settings before moving to the next. If a condition applies, apply its effects. Growth. When a village or town is booming and its prosperity is above moderate, you may reduce prosperity and defenses to move to the next largest type. New towns immediately gain market and new cities immediately gain guild. Your choice. Collapse. When a city's population is in exodus and its prosperity is poor or less, it shrinks. A city becomes a town with a steady population and plus prosperity. A keep becomes a town with defenses, or plus defenses, and a steady population. A town becomes a village with steady population and plus prosperity. A village becomes a ghost town. Want. When a steading has a need that is not fulfilled, through trade, capture, or otherwise, that steading is in want. It gets either negative prosperity, negative population, or loses a tag based on that resource like craft or trade. Your choice. Trade. When trade is blocked because the source of that trade is gone, the route is endangered, or political reasons, the steading has a choice. Gain need, a traded good, or take negative prosperity. Capture. When control of a resource changes, remove that resource from the tags of the previous owner and add it to the tags of the new owner, if applicable. If the previous owner has a craft or trade based on that resource, they now have need that resource. If the new owner has a need for that resource, remove it. Profit. When a setting has more trade than its current prosperity, it gets plus prosperity. Surplus. When a setting has a resource that another setting needs, unless enmity or another diplomatic reason prevents it, they set up trade. The setting with the resource gets plus prosperity in their choice of oaths, plus population, or plus defenses. The setting with a need erases that need and adds trade. Aid. When a setting has oaths to a setting under attack, that setting may take negative defenses to give the setting under attack plus defenses. Embattled. When a setting is surrounded by enemy forces, it suffers losses. If it fights back with force, it gets negative defenses. If its new defenses are watch or less, it also gets negative prosperity. If it tries to weigh out the attack, it gets negative population. If its new population is shrinking or less, it loses a tag of your choice. If the setting's defenses outclass the attackers, your call if it's not clear, or make it part of an adventure front, the setting is no longer surrounded. Opportunity. When a setting has enmity against a weaker setting, they may attack. Subtract the distance and rations between the settings from the setting with emity's defenses. If the result is greater than the other setting's defenses plus defense for each step of size difference, village to town, town to keep, keep to city, they definitely attack. Otherwise, it's your call. Has anything happened recently to stoke their anger? The forces of the attacker embattle the defender while they maintain the attack, their negative defenses. Clash. When two settings both attack each other, their forces meet somewhere between them and fight. If they're evenly matched, they both get negative defenses, and their troops return home. If one has the advantage, they take negative defenses, while the other takes -2 defenses. Other updates. The conditions above detail the most basic of interactions between settings. Of course, the presence of your friends and the players mean things can get far more complex. Since tags are descriptive, add them as needed to reflect the player's actions and your friend's effects on the world. And that settles the world. I'm gonna skip ahead real quick, flip through, and see how many pages are in the next chapter. 9, 10, 11, 12 pages. Hello, Rugettes. I think I'm actually going to call it here. I don't know if I can read through the next section. I have some things to do. I need to run out and get some tinfoil so I can roast some chestnuts over an open fire tonight. Let's see. Is there anyone else doing reading tonight? Is there anyone else doing reading tonight? Yeah, I still have to put up my Christmas, my holiday lights, holiday tree, all that stuff. It's gonna be a bit of work. What is this? Someone doing like ASMR art? Sounds interesting. Let's go join this person. They're going to be doing ASMR art. Or they are doing ASMR art. Let's see. Get the name. Enjoy my night. Thank you. I hope I will too. I don't know if I'm necessarily prepared for this. It's my second time doing it here, so I haven't quite picked out everything that needs to happen. And I also got stocking bits. Let's see, Tuba Guy Tristan. I have stockings actually to put over the fireplace. I don't know how that works necessarily. Like, do they need to be a certain distance? So hopefully I don't burn the place down when I try and roast chestnuts over the fire right above the hanging stockings. I'm hoping not to do that. So Tuesday, I usually do board games of some sort, like tabletop games. And Wednesday, I usually continue like longer form games that I'm playing. Right now, it's Vampire the Masquerade: Coteries in New York, based on the hit White Wolf / Onyx Path publishing game Vampire the Masquerade. And Saturday, I usually pick something like a one shot or something new to start, or some other special event. And Sunday is reading. So I don't have a formal schedule set up for the next week, but that is the general gist of what I'm likely to be doing this upcoming week. I post my schedule on Twitter on like Monday evening, Tuesday early morning. Tuesday really early morning. Thank you very much for coming. And oh, hello, Lenningen. Thank you. And